I think that obviously, like we just talked about there, the Morphling is something that I feel like has a ton of potential. He's gotten buffed and changed in the past couple of patches, morphed, you could potentially say there. And most recently in the last patch, he ended up getting the buffs to the adaptive strike as well, doing out a little bit more damage at the first level, up to 50 instead of the 20. Other heroes around that I've seen picked up recently that are somewhat interesting has been the Kunkka that was recently played by Smash in the South American team. And he did a really good job of it in the mid lane, prioritizing sort of the same way that we've seen Ember Spirit played, where you get a couple of points in the Searing Chains, as well as being able to toss on out a Sleight of Fist and use the hero as a long range initiator. So I think that being able to prioritize fighting in the early game by using your spells to get long range initiations and take the fights that you want is a thing that I think is going to be happening more and more often as people pick these interesting and unique heroes. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, well, Vici Gaming, they start things off with that Undying we saw yesterday. I don't know if it's like you just do the strategy. I mean, they're such an experimental team where I feel like they love going from one crazy strategy to the next. It reminds me a bit of like the old Team DK that Ice was on. They would just play countless heroes. They were so versatile. So, not sure if we'll just see a repeat of a similar strategy from yesterday, but did work, and it would have been something CDEC had their eyes on as far as trying to deal with and counter here going into this best of 3. So we'll see what they get as their opening 2 picks in response to the Undying.
Well, and the other thing here as well is that honestly, Undying is such a strong pick, even if you don't go for the crazy Morphling shenanigans. It's, I think, a pretty decent way to start on off your draft and a good offlane, or potentially being able to be versatile and move on over into that support role. You can be aggressive with you if you want as well. Tusk obviously still in the pool, and picking up this Ember Spirit here, another hero that is relatively versatile. I've been seeing him run, more and more often in that in the sort of safe lane role. I feel like wanting to prioritize a good amount of farm, but occasionally in that mid role. Is there a place that you feel like you like this hero more often, or does it depend upon the matchup?
I prefer him in the safe lane most games. I think when you first pick him, especially, the safe lane is always where you're going to have the better guarantee of him getting his early levels, and that's the biggest thing with Ember. He doesn't have to free farm his lane, he just needs to be guaranteed some amount of levels. So CDEC get the Tusk to go with the Ember as their opener. Really kind of picking what we're seeing a lot in the 6.85. Ember's really risen as a top pick, really good at playing that high tempo, constant fighting playstyle. And that suits CDEC's playstyle perfectly. I think aggressive is just like the perfect playstyle to match what Ember Spirit can bring to the table. And I think Tusk also works really well with that playstyle. So we'll see what Vici Gaming do to kind of fight that aggression. They've gone right back for the Alchemist Undying. If I'm CDEC, I'm just like, let's just ban this freaking Morphling. Don't give him Morphling now.
Yeah, well, you never know. They might not have seen it, and of course, if you do end up banning, if you ban out the Morphling, then you're leaving somebody else there in the pool as well. And lots of heroes still around that can make their presence felt in these games. We do also have the Bounty Hunter banned out, as is the Queen of Pain and the Gyrocopter. No defensive supports taken, which is something that I feel like is a little bit interesting. Oftentimes by this stage in the game, you would at least see a Dazzle or maybe a Winter Wyvern banned on out or picked potentially. Also the Darkseer, conspicuously not being touched so far.
Yeah.
Is this sort of more of a playstyle thing, do you think, or is this based upon the meta in the Chinese scene?
I think it's the latter. LD commented, came up to the same thing. He's like, why aren't we seeing Darkseer? And it seems to be a regional thing for the Chinese teams where they don't value Darkseer as high as the Western teams are doing so. And similarly, there's some heroes they value a lot more. Spirit Breaker being one of the big ones. We're seeing Spirit Breaker suddenly a top ban and a first pick or second pick hero in the Chinese scene, and largely either ignored or picked up third or fourth or fifth in a draft over in the Western scene. So I think you go back even like a year, 2 years ago, it's always been the case where each scene and region will kind of develop their own metagames, largely through what I can only imagine is the scrims they play, because, Vici Gaming before yesterday had not played a match in over a month. So their entire practice had come from scrims. So from that point of view, they're only scrimming against Chinese teams. They can't scrim against Western teams because of the ping issues, and they only ever play them on LAN, and that's where we'll see 2, even 3 different metagames kind of develop. You've got the one in China, in Asia, you've got one in Europe, then you've got one in America, and each kind of region will draft and pick slightly different, and we'll see different heroes get prioritized. And then when they meet all together on LAN, They figure out which playstyle's the best. They sometimes kind of merge. Their two regions may merge and find some similarities, take a bit from each other. But often you'll see which of the regions had it right, because they'll be the teams doing the best, and then everyone else will start and trying to adapt and play towards that metagame.
That is freaking awesome. I love the sound of it. It just got goosebumps thinking about all these melding of the minds together. That sounds really cool. Ancient Apparition is also going to be picked up here by CDEC, and a great pick to be able to deal with the Alchemist. I'm also going to mention now, this does leave open the opportunity to potentially be running that Ancient Apparition Veno combo, which everybody just loves to hate, particularly if you're playing against it. And I think that it's kind of a sort of awkward situation for Vici now, because you can't necessarily try to block the pick with the Veno. While he does have a good Ags upgrade, I don't know if the hero on its own is necessarily going to be the strongest here, particularly considering Vici are sort of missing a few of the key lockdown things that they might need to be able to deal with this Ember Spirit here. Not sure if that's a thing. Have we been still seeing the Veno Ancient Apparition in China?
Not as much. I feel like the teams really like AA. It's always been a traditionally Chinese pick, I guess. When the hero before, lately it's become very popular in the Western scene. We saw a lot of it out of the American squads, especially during Frankfurt Majors, the qualifiers. But before that, going back a year or two, it was always the Chinese teams who loved to run these like AA trial lanes, play a more slow-paced game, use the AA Ice Blast to try and snipe kills on the map. And well, enough about the AA. It's Morphling. Vici Gaming are going back. AA is nice against the Morphling because you can't actually morph strength when you have the Ice Blast effect on you. So if you're ever trying to kill a morph, it's quite difficult to do so. I mean, no, it's quite difficult for the morph to use the morph strength to stay alive. But you talked about lockdown against Ember, and morph actually gives it. And that's where I feel like Vici Gaming are like, sweet, this strategy worked yesterday. Let's do it again. And on top of that, they've got some lockdown which they needed to keep the Ember in place. This adaptive strike, when it's maxed out, is a huge stun. We're talking at a 4.25 second stun at level 4 when you're in that strength morph.
Yeah, with a 10-second cooldown as well. Absolutely disgusting in terms of what it's able to do. Of course, it is now a projectile. It does move, I believe, at 1150 speed, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of one of those things where you can dodge it if you're an Ember Spirit, but you got to be really quick on the trigger. Yeah. And if you're stunned up beforehand, you're still probably going to be picked up by it. And the Shadow Fiend also going to be picked up here. A hero that's pretty good at being able to catch up and farm, but if they're not able to control these bounty runes pretty effectively as against this Alchemist, it could be a bit of a problem. Juggernaut also going to be the pick. Maybe double healing wards we might be seeing?
I mean, there's a lot of healing heroes against an Ancient Apparition, but we can see, as far as the hybrids go, the replicates, early game, like replicating an Alchemist when he has Radiance means you've got mass farming capabilities for both Morphling and Alchemist. There's also a weird little bug where if you have Ag Scepter, you can hybrid the Undying and your Tombstone's actually invisible, which I believe is a bug. Probably it hasn't really been acknowledged as one, but something that may be fixed. So I think the ideal hybrid target is going to be the Undying for a team fight, having the double Tombstone. But the Jug as well, like if your team's all low after a fight and the Jug's healing ward's on cooldown, you make that hybrid and then you bring out the healing ward. So it is a possibility as well.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, though. The Undying Tombstone is just too good to pass on up, and being able to spawn double the zombies, double the fun.
And also you get, I believe you get the Aghanim's Decay. If Morph has, that's the thing. So the hybrid from the Morphling, when you make an illusion of a teammate, you don't get their ultimate ability. So generally it's the ultimates that is upgraded by an Aghanim Scepter, but there's a few unique heroes, Undying being one of them, whose main 3 spells get upgraded, in his case the Decay. So an Ag's Morphling making an Undying hybrid, suddenly you've got not only a Tombstone, but you've got a 10 strength Decay. This is so powerful on a Morphling. It means Undying doesn't even have to farm the Aghanim Scepter. You've got Decay coming out from an Undying, taking away 4 strength. Then you've got Decay from the Morphling hybrid, taking away another 10 strength. There goes all of your HP. It is brutal to verse this.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about there, Morphling does occasionally, obviously if you're going to be going in the offlane role, you're not going to be getting it as often, but I was thinking about Manta style there, and if you're stealing a ton of strength and then you actually have an Undying illusion potentially get created after you steal a ton of strength, maybe you get like 200 hit Undying illusions or something going on. It's a little bit clowny, but
yeah,
you know what?
That sounds like something I want to try.
Exactly. Anyways, Lion also going to be banned out, as is finally the little purple man, Mr. Darkseer, and Abaddon going to be the other pick.
Okay, so this is picked up as a counter to the adaptive strike. You can just take off that long 4.25 second stun, which is on the short cooldown. So We saw Abaddon picked up a lot against like Morphlings in the past, as well as heroes like Mirana. If you're throwing these long stuns and an Abaddon's there, you just immediately purge it off with the Aphotic Shield.
Great. Great little combo there. And Winter Wyvern, the last pickup. So another defensive support, another healing hero. Might have committed a lot to this one at this point.
Ooh. Yeah, there's a lot of heals against an AA. This is very much not something that Vici Gaming can expect to rely on in the team fights if Q is on point with his Ice Blast, which typically he's pretty good at. Interesting, it's a core Abaddon as well. Garda does normally play the Tusk. CDEC run more of the support Tusk and then the off lane, although I have seen, I believe, XC play it here or there. But they want to put more farm and level priority in the Abaddon. Likely see him kind of go for a lot of those utility items, fast mech, Vlads, whatever it may be for the team. Whatever they feel is going to be an answer to the Vici Gaming side and help kind of pressure the Alchemist especially.
Well, I think that the other great thing that, you mentioned there is pressuring the Alchemist. It's definitely going to be the name of the game here. And with a Tusk on your team, you're already going to be able to control those bounty runes potentially a little bit more effectively. It seems to me that they have a pretty good lineup for being able to contest at level 1 here. And I'm curious to see if that Shadow Fiend's going to end up taking a level and raise to be able to fight if he has to.
For those of you wondering, the stand-in Walnuts is Ice, notorious for playing on different names, using his manager's account even from time to time. This is just typical Ice trolling. Or sometimes there's actually perfect world issues where he can't connect using his original account. So whatever it is Ice competing for Vici Gaming here, even if he is not tagged up properly. So.
And just moving forward, ready to get a little bit fresh with this side over here. He's just not afraid of anybody, apparently.
I guess
we do
with a waveform out, he can escape from most anything. He shouldn't, even if he gets caught out, like if he gets ice shards blocked, he waves over it. If there's a snowball, he can outrun it with the waveform. So pretty safe for him to go for that kind of early scouting movement.
Definitely. Boots first on the Undying as well. Ready to party if he needs to. It does look... Do you think that they're going to run this as an aggressive dual lane?
With the Undying? Very likely. I think Undying is going to offer some... especially with Ember being fairly weak in lane. I think that is quite a high chance that they do that.
Couple of tangos eaten up. They're ready to party now. Acid Spray does drop down. Raise is going to be used as well. Super's dropping a little bit low. Is going to be able to get taken on out there very early. Shadow Fiend, meanwhile, falling as well. Maybe going to be able to get a kill here on aggressive. He does have the Aphotic Shield. It breaks, and the Morphling gets the double kill. Nicely done there. Continuing to battle now. 3 heroes dead already, and we're seeing more up in the middle of all of them. Wave 4 on through. For the triple kill start.
7 decays. This Undying has 1100 HP. He also has 90 base damage. He's so massive. Make it 8 decay stacks. Holy crap. I've never seen more decays at like 30 seconds into a game than just now.
That was pretty amazing. A good start, and definitely a good way to start the pressure early. I don't think you can get a better start for the Morphling either. 670 gold, just picking up his boots now as well. He is very, very comfortable.
3-0 killing spree for Morphling. He also got the bounty rune. Alchemist, I really like the move from Alchemist to go for the Acid there. It was a full-on 4v5. That Acid made a massive difference. Without it, Vici Gaming would not have been able to win the fight like they did. And there were so many heroes on the bounty rune. There was such a low chance that he gets it. And it just meant the Ice Morphling could just go for it and not care about taking it. So, all in all, great decision-making from Vici Gaming in that level 1 fight.
I also love right here, out of this Morphling, as soon as the snowball comes in, he waveforms away and then knows the exact distance where he's going to be able to get a second auto attack off on top of the Tusk as soon as the snowball finishes off. So, really, really cool there. Also worth noting as well that Tusk is using the Vici Gaming set, so a little bit of blood coming out on the set against his team.
I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign for the Tusk.
Definitely. So mid lane, Alchemist doing perfectly fine here. Does have 11 last hits up against the 10 of the Shadow Fiend, so no real pressure is going to be able to be applied until we see some type of rotation over into this lane, I would imagine. It seems pretty good, and coming to contest the rune right from the start, Morphling's going to have to pick up that bounty rune, not going to be able to leave it for his Alchemist friend. Yeah,
that level 1 stun just preventing Garda, not long enough to get Garda the bounty rune there, and bottom lane there is a haste rune, which for now, Wyvern just camping next to. Looks like he'll pick it up as well. So swings towards mid lane, and Shiki needs to be careful. Has bottle charges and won't be going down here, but FY maybe just considering some Arctic Burn harass.
Yeah, certainly. I think that it's always a little bit scary considering you've got Arctic Burn and a level 2, the Splinter Blast up as well. But I feel like a lot of the action is going to be happening up in this top lane here. Just being able to see how well Morphling and Undying are going to be able to deal with this sort of snowball combination with Chilling Touch and everything else that comes out from their side.
And importantly for Vici Gaming, you talk about how much may happen at top. They dewarded the lane, so it makes it a bit harder for CDEC to control the offlane Morphling as well as Undying. And that just helps know where the supports are moving around while denying information from CDEC. So ISI's just looping around, keeping tabs of the support, and we'll come back in top. Going to at least harass aggressive here in lane. Aggressive, finding decent farm despite the bad level 1 fight that CDEC had.
Well, the other thing there as well is he's actually been able to block that camp twice now with his body, so still no spawn on this one despite the fact they dewarded it. Pretty nice little play there to make sure that he's able to still get these levels and no pulls will be coming through this day at least. There is a stack up now, so trying to do that whenever they possibly can for their Shadow Fiend to make sure he's able to have some amount of farm as we move forward, and should actually be fine in lane as well though. So I think that just generally trying to get any type of advantage to build towards an early item so that way they can pressure this Alchemist.
I really like the point you make about the pull camp, because that's one of the key things to do in a 3v2 lane, or like against these annoying aggro dual lanes, is to use the pull camp to your advantage, to starve them of experience especially, and then you take away farm of course too, but mostly XP. And a hero like Morphling needs XP more than farm. Same for the Undying. You're just looking to get experience out of this dual lane, and you can't deny the XP from them when they keep on blocking this pull camp, which you want to be using to stack, double pull, and then take away the creeps from Vici Gaming. So again, we see Ice. 4 minutes in, he's blocked it once more, and will just continue to do so, it seems. And CDEC can't do anything about this dual lane, just staying nearby, contesting the lane, getting experience. Even with aggressive free farming, it feels like Vici Gaming are in some ways winning, or at least getting lots out of this off lane.
Certainly. The other thing to keep in mind as well is that Undying, whenever possible, is leaving Morphling to get a little bit more of that EXP if at all possible. Also, FY moving on through the jungle, going to stack on up for the Alchemist as well. And the Illusion Runes mean that we're going to be getting several stacks going out at the same time. Always nice to be able to get that when you're a hero that wants to be able to start burning into your farm. And speaking of burning, we're having him down in the bottom lane, getting relative free farm up against this Abaddon. Not a whole lot that you can do to really contest it at this point, I feel like, with this hero.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, looking at this draft strategy, we haven't even talked about Burning or Jug at all. He just feels like the icing on the cake. Like, this overall strategy doesn't necessarily involve him all too much, but he's playing a carry that can fight and get involved early. We're not going to see a passive jungle farming Juggernaut this game, I don't feel. He's going for fast phase boots, is leveling up the Blade Fury. In some ways, it feels like Jug can be the new Gyrocopter. Mid lane, they're going to snowball in. Super turns around, drops the Acid Spray, takes a few raises, but Shiki in trouble in the Acid Spray with the Morphling TP. He goes down. And Burning even TPing in as well with an Omni Slash, so you've got to be very careful mid if you're CDEC.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit, a lot committed there with the Juggernaut coming in as well, but Morphling now on a dominating streak at just under 6 minutes into this game. He is very, very comfortable with where he's at, and once again, just going to sit by this little magic tree here and block out the camp every single minute. He's been able to block it.
Bottom. Omni Slash will find the tusk. Burning just knew someone was going to go for that 6-minute bottom rune. And that's an early kill for Jug. He's farming well. He's just winning this bottom lane without any supports. You kind of talked about how FY is stacking and helping out the mid lane, provide just jungle farm for the Alchemist, and the Undying's been top, so Burning's just won this bottom lane, found a kill, all by himself. He has been very independent this game.
Well, and now we're starting to see some rotations to potentially deal with this. The Tusk, although only level 2, is going to come down here and try and potentially apply a little bit of harassment. I think that this is the sort of downside of taking the Abaddon to deal with the mid-game Morphling doing a lot of damage. But again, if you're a Gardener at this point, it seems very difficult for you to really contest the farm at all of this Jug, who's already level 6. He did just use the Omni Slash on the Tusk himself, but I don't know, it's difficult.
Yeah, so and from here, Burning has maxed out Blade Fury. I mean, the kind of point I was trying to make earlier is that Jug now, in some ways, a new Gyrocopter. When you get this maxed out Blade Fury, it does 750 magic damage, roughly. Does get reduced, of course, but the actual uptime for this spell is about like 25 to 30%. It lasts for 5 seconds, has an 18-second cooldown. You can use this so continuously that This Blade Fury is just like the new Rocket Barrage in a lot of ways, if you're going to go for this build that we're seeing Burning do, and it really does feel like the right way to play the hero nowadays.
Yeah, certainly. Another interesting thing, what do you think about Ice Ice Ice's skill build here? He's gone for 3 in waveform, 2 in morph, hasn't really taken any in the adaptive strike yet, planning to save it for the later stages, I guess.
I think it's okay. I saw this is the same build he did yesterday when he played this offlane morphling, and I initially was like, huh, this is not what I expected. You lane and farm better because you've got waveform to farm and even go for kills. So you've got a lot more kill potential with damage output from waveform. The adaptive strike gives you a good stun, but the stun itself doesn't get you kills if you've got no follow-up damage. So I don't think it makes a big difference. Ultimately, morphling doesn't come online until he's like level 7, 8, 9, has points in waveform and the stun, and I imagine we will see him go back for the stun fairly soon. I don't think he even... At latest level 8, maybe even earlier. Like, I think last time he got just 3 points in waveform.
Yeah. Well, pretty cool there, and it's always good to see some type of innovation. I'll mention as well that finally the camp gets unblocked and they're going to be able to make a pull happen. As the Undying Replicate ends up moving on over there, we do end up getting a little bit of a rotation now. They are going to have the Tusk over here, Snowball, as well as the Remnant forward. Shadow Fiend with the follow-up raises should be enough. No, but the Replicate away. Oh, he's going to end up falling to the Shadow Fiend right-click from afar.
SF got the kill? Huh? I'm just so confused what happened there.
So the Replicate away, and then the right-click from the Shadow Fiend turned around in mid-air and then ended up following over to kill him.
I saw him make a Replicate. I just assumed he would send it. I wasn't keeping tabs of where he sent it, so I assumed he'd just like send it back to the fountain. I'm like, oh, he'll just Replicate out, and then he Replicates, and he's suddenly next to an AA. What? And like you said, the SF right-click following him through the Replicate to get the last hit. That was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I was going to mention about just sort of the whole sort of innovation in the build, 6.85 is a month old tomorrow, so we're really starting to see several teams come with their own new ideas of what it is that this patch is going to be about. We've been seeing innovative builds across multiple metas, and I'm really excited to see how this continues to expand as we move further into this patch. 4-man smoke up here in the tier 2 tower in the mid. The only person showing is the Ancient Apparition in the lane, so if you're Juggernaut at this point, you might start to get your spidey senses tingling.
This is the classic CDEC 10-minute smoke. They bring in aggressive as well as Shiki this time, so both SF and Ember. If you're committing both your carries to this, you've got to find a kill, and in theory, you want multiple out of this. Ember is great at finding one kill and then kind of jumping onto the next using the Fire Remnants. It's Alchemist they want. He just bought his Relic, though, so he may not even lose any money here. Can they even find him? He's juking. He's jiving. It's the Undying who now scouts him out. Super may actually escape this one.
Tombstone is down as well. Aggressive taking a little bit more damage. Juggernaut is going to be able to finally finish off the Shadow Fiend. No Requiem death damage onto him through the Blade Fury. The Alchemist, meanwhile, dies as well as Fenrir chases away the Abaddon. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get the Ember Spirit as he TPs away, and Abaddon making his way out as well.
That's so bad for CDEC. They smoke up 4 heroes. They trade an SF for an Alchemist, and the Alchemist only lost maybe like 150 gold there because he just bought his Relic. So I feel like they timed that smoking to try and catch the Alch before he had a Relic. And once he spent the money for it, he doesn't really lose all too much there. So it doesn't really delay him that much. It does slow down time where he'd like to be farming up for his Radiance. But most importantly, Vici Gaming get a counter kill. They kill the SF. So
yeah, that's huge.
Not worth it at all for CDEC.
I mean, the other thing there, you talk about missing out on farming time for the Alchemist. You're also missing out on farming time for the Ember. You're also missing out on farming time for the Shadow Fiend through the whole time that they were smoke ganked over there and moving into position to make it happen. So, yeah, absolutely. And Morphling now starting to move into that level 8. He's going to start to get these more points in Adaptive Strike now. Only 1 so far, but does have the 4 in Waveform, so he can still dole out a lot of damage. And depending upon who he ends up bringing over here, there's the stun. It's just so frustrating to play against. They can maybe get a kill on this Ember.
Yeah, it's Wyvern for now headed top. They've got Winter's Curse as well. Wyvern is actually level 8. FY's got a decent amount of experience this game somehow. He's 2-0-3, so a lot of it goes back to the fact he's been involved in kills, hasn't actually died when there's been a team fight breaking out. Looks like he's considering finding an opening on top lane. Aggressive's Ember Spirit. Has to be careful. Winter's Curse, Adaptive Strike, and any kind of one hero TP in, someone like a Juggernaut, could lead to his demise.
Absolutely. And while CDEC also are going to be skulking around through the jungle with the Tusk and the AA, the Shadow Fiend did bottle up a DD. So if people leave this mid lane, this tower is going to fall very swiftly. And as we were talking about the Wyvern potentially being able to do something, he does rotate back towards that mid lane and leaves alone, at least for the moment, the Ember Spirit. I feel like that rotation was probably more about making sure the Morphling was safe than trying to actually get a kill off as originally thinking.
Well, Super now going to finish his Radiance in the jungle here. Gets a Mud Golem camp, which is probably the best you can get as an Alchemist. 6 units, lots of Grieval's Greed, and there's his Radiance 12 minutes, 50 seconds in. That's a scary thought, especially with the Morphling able to make replicates of him to help his farm. I think Ice, yes, they went for the Midas. We'll do the same thing here. The replicate scaling means you want to have the leveled up replicate as early as possible because the duration increases, so you have more uptime on the Alchemist replicate to farm with. So very much he wants to get levels more than he needs farm. He's going to pick up the Midas recipe and then go back for the Aghanim Scepter afterwards.
Definitely, and that seems to be able to make a lot of sense there, and I'm very curious how they're going to end up scaling on in the next little bit with it. If you get a couple pings out here, Splinter Blast is going to be able to tear through these creep waves. The Shadow Fiend does activate the DD in the mid lane as well. Doesn't look like they're really going to be able to chase them out of the jungle. But I thought that actually we might see the Shadow Fiend stick around. Looks like he's moving up top with the mechanism. I'm just going to leave it alone for now. It's kind of odd. I was wondering if he was going to try and push down this tower or maybe try and make something happen up to the top, but nothing so far as the Ice Blast has already been committed.
They find the Morph there and Snowball Ice Blast. He just dodges the Ice Blast with ease, and there's no follow-up from an Ember Spirit. It really feels like CDEC are getting nothing done this game. And I don't really get the impression they can go late game well. They've got SF and Ember Spirit, decent late game carries, but just seeing this strategy in action yesterday, it feels like once you get your items, and if you get the space to do it, you just take control of the game. Using this Ags Morphling, the Alchemist farm rate, you've got 2 Alchemists on your team with the Morphling replicate to farm with. It's just insane. So I don't really feel like CDEC can keep up in farm if they play this slow tempo, which right now they are doing. And this just is not the CDEC way. They're a much more aggressive team that likes to take early fights, use all their smokes. And they've tried that. They've used a couple of smokes. They just haven't actually converted them into kills, into towers.
Does have the TP scroll if he wants to come over and commit. Snowball on in to FY. There's an A blast onto several as well. Blade Fury into the middle of them though. Remnant forward onto FY. He is going to end up falling. Meanwhile, the Tusk taking a lot of damage. Little Omni Slash solo onto the Shadow Fiend is going to end up being able to walk away from this one though. I do believe no waveform through with the Undying and all of them. So much value. Q ends up falling. Alchemist is in all of them, and Aggressive might end up falling here as well. Demolishing at this point. Vici Gaming looking very strong.
That was... I saw the Omni Slash come out. I was like, okay, this won't be enough to kill the SF. And I was like, wait a sec, 11. He's already burning. They timed that smoke gank so well. It wasn't just like, okay, we're ready. We've got level 2 Omni Slash. This doubles the damage output of Jug's Omni. Very much Vici Gaming just hit a perfect timing window where not the tankiest hero has no stats. He's sub 1k HP, but he shows up at the end of the fight. So CDEC have already used all their initial engagement spells to go on other heroes, to go on the Morphling, to go on the Winter Wyvern, and Vici Gaming, they should just let that one go. The Alchemist trying to TP in to save the Undying was not really the play to make there. He's just not in fighting shape, and it was a like 2v3, 2v4 scenario, so it was never going to work to their advantage.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, it did look somewhat okay for a second, but once they were able to find that Undying and he came on out with his ulti form, they just were able to burst him down too quickly. If maybe you had the Alchemist there a couple of seconds earlier, mid lane now actually, oh no, not going to catch with the Snowball. Just tosses out Adaptive Strike for your Trouble. Take that, Gardner. Look at that stun. That's disgusting.
He's almost maxed it out. He's suddenly, after that fight at top, he's already level 11, so he's got level 2 Replicate, level 3 Adaptive Strike. And we kind of talked a bit about, like, oh, maxing waveform early over getting the Adaptive Strike points. That fight you mentioned where he got 3 waveforms or something off really made a big difference.
Battle Fury down on top of the Alchemist. The A Blast isn't actually going to connect on anybody except for the Juggernaut. He should be okay for now. You want Ice get initiated on, but he's pretty freaking tanky as well. The illusion of the Alchemist is going to go forward and just start applying that Radiance burn in just a second here. It's just really disgusting. That's actually just the regular Alchemist up in their face now. Do we have a stun for the Ember Spirit? It kind of doesn't matter because Omni Slash is there as well. It is doling out the damage to Abaddon. The Ember Spirit does stay alive a little bit longer. Requiem of Souls does come out, but that's actually just going to be the Death Requiem. And Burning, oh, he is pretty freaking tanky and hard to deal with. Not going to be able to kill him.
and got the Blade Fury to dodge that Requiem damage as well off. So he just didn't take enough damage early on in the fight. They killed the SF. Ember got kept alive like time and time again. The Abaddon just kept on throwing shields towards him, kept on healing him up with the Miscoil. So aggressive, didn't die, but it's like what they didn't do any damage at all to Vici Gaming. Alchemist is still by far the top net worth hero. You've got Jug and Morphling pretty much on par with the SF. Like your offlane Morphling is only 1,000 gold behind his Shadow Fiend right now, and that's with a Midas. His Ag Scepter is going to be complete at record time, it feels like. Actually goes for a 4-staff this game, so different build from what we saw last time out of the Morphling, perhaps. At least for now, happy to go for some more utility items.
Well, they are going to be able to catch up to Alchemist finally, so this is definitely going to be a kill. A little bit unfortunate, but does get off a little replicate there at the end. Apparently he's just going to run away as well. I think it's somewhat interesting. You think about the way that this sort of game has evolved into this shape, and a lot of the really intense damage that's been coming out from Vici has been by virtue of the Juggernaut. And I think that harkens back to the fact that they had to run this Abaddon here to deal with the Morphling stun, and because of that, they weren't able to really appropriately contest the Juggernaut, and the Tusk ended up going up into the top lane and being a support there. So you're kind of in this awkward situation now where you do have the ability to deal with the Morphling stun, but you can't deal with the Juggernaut damage. So it's sort of, you know, a pick your poison situation that hasn't ended up working out super well for them.
Yeah, and heroes like Ember, SF don't want to be going for Ghost Scepters to dodge an Omni Slash, whatever it may be, so it's make life pretty difficult for them. Just like Ice Ice will find Q on the Ancient Apparition here, but keep you out and Q will be just fine.
Adaptive Strike does have a low cooldown, but not quite that low. It does have a level 3, as we mentioned earlier, and still level 11. Does have that Midas off of cooldown if he wants to go for it. They are sort of stalking here, Burning ready to potentially just jump on top of him. His Omni Slash is up. He is able to find the Shadow Fiend here. Maybe going to go for a Blade Fury into a right click. Does he have enough to take him out right here?
We'll find out soon enough. It's going to be AA looking to split the damage coming on in, and not with the mech. Blade Fury TP. Doesn't end up, I mean, costs him an Omni Slash cooldown, but it's still pressure being applied from Vici Gaming. I actually don't feel like that's too big a problem for Vici, because Alchemist is farming, not just with his hero, but he's got a Alchemist Illusion in the mid lane. So the way this actually works is that Alchemist gets the Greevil's Greed money from the Morphling replicate, and Morphling gets the last hit money. So it's actually Alchemist giving gold to the Morphling giving gold to the Alchemist by making a replicate of him in some ways with the Greevil's Greed.
Jeez. What a freaking weird interaction. You know, I saw another weird interaction earlier today, or another game with the Winter Wyvern and Lotus Orb, which was another one that if you Lotus Orb the Winter's Curse, as we watch Roshan fall here, and the Winter Wyvern gets it applied and then dies, it counts as the Winter Wyvern denying herself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Another little funky thing that all of these strange interactions, you kind of wonder if some of them might end up getting patched or if they're going to end up remaining the way that they are. Certainly kind of interesting. So Shadow Fiend with the Aegis now does also have that mechanism and building into the BKB very much for a team fighty centric lineup and trying to push, but they haven't really been able to make any use of the timings that we've been talking about so far. Do you feel like they're going to be able to have enough here, or is this potentially missing their window?
This is, to me, maybe their last window for a long time with Aegis, BKB on SF, and Ember Spirit's Battle Fury. They're going to hit a good kind of level right now. Their power curve is looking pretty solid, but if they don't get something done with this Aegis, I feel like their only option at that point is to play for the late game. Try and farm until your SF Ember have 4 or 5 big items. If CDEC want to end this game early and fast, they've got to do it with this Aegis by getting a ton of towers, because it's already a 10k gold deficit. They are playing from behind, as is often the nature with an Alchemist and how fast he can farm, but they haven't put any pressure onto Super, who's already got his Radiance Manta style and is just farming away constantly this game. So it's not like if they don't get all these outer towers on the map with this Aegis, they're going to lose. It just means their playstyle has to adapt and be much more geared for the late game.
Well, Burning is going to find the Ancient Apparition and Now that this stuff starts to happen, it's looking a little bit bleak. And I guess also there as well with the Battle Fury going to be the pickup. Well, we might actually end up seeing an engagement here. The stun is going to be coming out from the Alk, is going to end up hitting onto the Abaddon. No emphatic shield this point, and is going to be able to get the amplified damage coming out. The body blocks abound. FY is here as well. The Abaddon ulti has been popped now, potentially wanting to jump back in on top of the Shadow Fiend as well. The mechanism does end up getting out as well. BKB popped, going to be able to drop Fenrir roll, but we do have the Cold Embrace, keep it alive a little bit longer. A couple more raises getting tossed on out there. In the meanwhile, Juggernaut is just tearing people around from the backside, and now right-click down Gardner. He's taking a lot from that Winter's Curse, is going to get stunned up again by Super, trying to chase away. There's the jump back in, and Ember Spirit now going to make something happen here. Aegis still not popped. They are really comfortable, I think, to be able to continue this fight down. Oh, there's going to be another jump forward with the Sleight of Fist, and Burning is going to have to back off here. Oh, maybe going to be able to actually kill the Shadow Fiend. Oh, this is pretty huge. All right, they burned through the Aegis, so I think that that's still kind of worth it now for Vici. They definitely came out ahead.
3 for 1. If you want to include like the Omni Slash onto the AA, it's almost like a 4 for 1 in some ways. That's also including the Aegis, but they prevent CDEC from getting anything done with the Aegis. SF's biggest issue there was he didn't have mana for the Requiem. He BKB'd, he threw a raise, and then that was his Requiem mana. So he was just sitting next to 2 or 3 heroes in pretty close proximity, but with no way of actually throwing out the Requiem of Souls. So a lot of his potential damage that fight just wasn't there. And he doesn't right-click very hard. With his BKB mech build, he needs to be using his spells in a team fight.
Maybe going to have another initiation here. We do have the Tombstone get dropped down. It is going to fall, though, and it kind of feels like FY needs to get out of here. Okay, just backing off. Nobody really wants to fight. Are they really going to go for this? All right, Abaddon gets hit by the stun. It's going to take a little bit more Radiance burn. I kind of feel like with their ultis on cooldown, they don't necessarily want to jump in. I guess Winter's Curse is back up again in 10 seconds. Jumping in is going to be Ember Spirit. We do have Winter's Curse up in a second. Izzy's going to be able to stay alive. Force Staff pushing him out of harm's way. Apparently, that's the pickup that you need. FY does have it, but not enough mana.
Yeah, the Blink Dagger on the Ember just allows him to go blinking in aggressively, follow those Searing Chains, and he'll always have the Fire Remnant to escape to. Like, as he TP'd back in, he left a Fire Remnant behind, blinked forward, hit a 2-hero Searing Chain. So nice play and nice item selection from Aggressive. I really like the idea behind this Blink Dagger in this game. Considering that it's been too slow pace for the CDEC's liking, they're just going to look to kind of up the ante here. Although, as I say that, Aggressive walks into a Winter's Curse Omni Slash. Gets out of there, though. Okay. Radiance. Oh, no!
Oh! The Radiance burned the Morphling. He replicates over. No! Blink away! Oh, God.
He's not out yet. He's got TP in 3 seconds. Looks like Wyvern is headed up from the river. I don't think he's going to find Aggressive. No, he'll survive this one. Holy crap. That must... I can just picture Aggressive there, like, pooping his pants.
Oh, man, that was crazy. I can't believe he actually got away from that one. Maybe just one more right click would have been enough, but that Remnant away followed up by the turnover from the Alchemist. This is scary stuff we're seeing. Gotta be still my heart here. Also, Morphling now, only 700 gold away from finishing off the Aghanim Scepter. Undying's been able to pick up his Glimmer Cape, the Winter Wyvern as well, the Blink Dagger and the Glimmer Cape. It feels like the supports for Vici have really been getting the farm that they've needed and the space to get the items and the levels and just everything.
That's the crazy thing. Like, it's not just the carries. Like, a Wyvern with 7k net worth. Like, your support is keeping up with your opponent's offlane and farm. Your offlane is keeping up with your opponent's mid-end farm. Like, there's just a huge mismatch as far as the overall farm seeing on the two teams. Look at this Alchemist replicate. It's a walking error.
Yeah, that's good. This is not what should be happening.
Great. My hero is imbalanced. This is an error. I apologize for being too OP.
So multiple smokes again now. CDEC is going to try and see if they can potentially find somebody. This is going to be 4 heroes down in the bottom lane. But with FY and Burning both backing on out, it does seem like they're going to be safe from this one. I will also mention the several different Blink Daggers that we've been seeing. Ember Spirit has his own. Also, the Shadow Fiend has been able to pick one up also. So it's kind of a bit weird. Do you think that this is more to be able to get to position to farm more, or you said earlier that you felt like it was to get into the initiation point for the Ember? Which is this more of?
For the Ember, it's definitely that, and I think one of the things with blink daggers is when you've already got like 1 or 2 blink initiators, having follow-up blinks become more valuable. If SF has a blink but he's got no one on his team to initiate, getting a blink is not very good in SF. But when you've got a blink Ember Spirit who can blink him for a Searing Chain, set you up for a full damage Requiem, suddenly the item becomes a lot more viable on Shadow Fiend. So I think it's because he's got good initiators on his team where this item suddenly becomes a much better option. It does mean, though, that they're less playing for the late game here. They want to keep on fighting. They want to use these items to be aggressive. I think it's very much not a farming item for the SF to kind of jump from camp to camp, but much more looking for the kills and setup it provides.
Okay, very cool. Well, hopefully going to make something happen here. Roshan does only have about a minute before it has the potential to respawn again, and we'll see what the actual timer situation is looking like. Morphling has been able to finish off his Aghanim Scepter as well, long ago finishing off the max levels in Adaptive Strike, so he's going to be stunning for days, and we'll see how well the Abaddon's going to be able to deal with this.
And our good friend the Alchemist, Octarine Core, he has completed his Naga Siren build. Oh.
That's
disgusting.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
This is the disgusting Alchemist build. He can start pulling Ag Scepters if he feels it's needed, but it looks like AC will come first at least.
That's another component too that we didn't really talk about. The Juggernaut Aghanim Scepter, a really great one to be able to get, and oftentimes something you just don't want to pick up on the hero because there's better items like Assange and Yasha early, or being able to pick on up what I guess this might end up being an MKB potentially, considering that we do have the Solar Crest up on the Abaddon.
Yeah, I think that's... there's no point to get the Daedalus like with his Blade Dance already, so yeah, MKB does make sense here.
I think that the potential here to be picking on up an Aghanim Scepter to give to your Juggernaut, it really increases the potency of that Omni Slash, and I would love to be able to see it because it's an item we haven't seen that often. I feel like, you know, this is really the opportunity to be able to make it happen when you have these clunky, funky, and wonderful builds with the Alchemist.
Oh yeah. So we'll have to see if any hybrids come into play anytime soon. Morphling can... It's only a 20-second duration is the main thing to remember. So it's much more... I think that's why he got the 4-staff before the Ags, because he's like, we're just going to farm this game, and if he got the Ags first, they weren't going to be fighting anyways. The 4-staff was just kind of like a transition item into the Ags. Often what you see, like if a carry gets a BKB too early and they're not really ready to use it, he just sits there and he could have gone for a farming item instead. So 4-staff not a farming item, but it is an item that makes him near impossible to kill. So we're seeing him now with an Ag Scepter, which to me means Vici Gaming may look to take fights, 5-man soon. Alchemist is pretty much ready to go once he has that Assault Cuirass. Jug, probably they wait out the MKB. And then you've got MKB Jug, you've got an Alchemist with AC, you've got the hybrid from the Morphling. You take Roshan and you just take down towers. I feel CDEC will have a lot of trouble dealing with that kind of a play.
Well, and particularly because if you think about the normal way you try and deal with these things, it's by pushing out lanes and trying to make yourself... as often as possible, at least, keeping those lanes pushed out and not taking the team fights, trying to farm up as much as you can. And the heroes are somewhat capable of doing that. You do have the Ember Spirit, who normally ends up going for the Boots of Travel, but this time has gone for the Treads. So his split push potential becomes a little bit less potent. You have the Shadow Fiend, who, while he does have the Blink Dagger, so he's going to be able to get to lanes quickly, isn't necessarily the person you want to be hanging out there to dry. And as we're talking about this, Ancient Apparition is going to be running into a whole world of trouble. He ends up falling down there. It just seems like their heroes aren't the best at being able to push out those lanes.
And that's when you kind of expose yourself to these kind of ganks. It's a smoke gank just for an AA. It's better him than someone like the Ember or the Shadow Fiend. The problem is now, Vici Gaming go into the Roach Pit, they take out the Scouting Sigil, and they seem so confident they can get this. They don't even care that they've just been spotted in the pit. This is going to be a free, uncontested Roshan for Vici Gaming, and their lead now up to almost 20,000 net worth.
This is a whole lot of gold being taken really very quickly. Alchemist ends up picking on up the Aegis just so that way he not only has all the money in the world, but he's never going to die. AC being flown out as well right now, I do believe, and interestingly a Clarity on the Courier. Not something that you always see there, but pretty cool to have the late game Clarity.
And late game Clarities. Maybe from earlier and he dropped it, but hey, Undying, you've got mana missing.
Yeah, there we go. Why not make that value happen? AC is picked up on the Shadow Fiend as well, so an AC for an AC. Also, Ember Spirit has been able to go for the little Chrysalis as well, so a little crit coming out from him. It's not looking all terrible, and they do have a lot of potential to dole out a lot of damage if people are grouped together in a way that Vici Gaming might be.
And the AC for the Shiki is very much an item to help deal with the Omni Slash. I think he knows he's the main Omni Slash target. The mech only goes so far. With an AC, he's currently on 26 armor. That's combined with the Vlad's. You put a Solar Crest on him, he's sitting on 40 plus armor. So Jug will have an MKB to deal with the evasion of the Solar Crest, but you're still getting bonus armor, and that's just anything to help negate the Omni Slash damage coming out.
Here's a quick question. What if you're Morphling at this point in time, what do you feel like you go with 3,100 gold in the bank?
That is, I am just, you're going like, last time I think it was a refresher. I think we see a refresher orb, so you can get a second replicate and most importantly a second hybrid.
God.
I think refresher may be the luxury item of choice, but
stun coming out on the 2 adaptive strike as well as that unstable concoction.
2 4-second stuns. The Alk with a 4-second stun, the 4.25 from the Morphling. You're just taking heroes out of the picture for such a long duration.
It's like the mini Doom.
Yeah. You stack those perfectly, then you're just like going back and forth. You Morph stuns, then Alk stuns, and then by the time the Alk stun's wearing off, Morph has another stun. You are looking at, in some ways, a mini Doom.
Well, they just walk right on up to where the Ember Spirit was, not really wanting to gank him, but just here to push on out this lane, and they make sure that they have a creep wave with them. So the Cardi Catapult does end up surviving, as does the range creep, which means that they're going to be able to push down this tower and break through that backdoor defense and potentially even move forward towards the high ground if they want. And honestly, at this point, with the Aegis still on up on the Alchemist, why not? They're moving on up here, and nobody home to contest at this point in time.
Ice. He's gone in bottom lane. He's trying to get the AA here. I don't know if he's going to be able to get this kill and get out. Has he got a TP? No, he does not. Looks like he will pay for this with his life. Bit of a flashy play. He's opening up for top lane, which is where the SF goes down. And with SF down, defending your high ground becomes near impossible.
Yeah, the Tombstone's down already. Morphling is gone, so no double Tombstone.
Space created. He took Ember and AA out of the picture. And AA's Ice Blast was used to kill that Morph, which meant they didn't have it to defend.
1,200 gold swing there. The Daedalus is dealing a lot of damage, but they're already out of here. There's the Blade Fury into the TP. Everybody's just TPing away. They walk up casually. That was the most casual barracks take I've ever seen in my life. They're not afraid.
Well, with that, Vici Gaming in prime position to take game 1 of this best of 3. They've still got a minute and a half left on the Aegis if they want to go for another lane of racks. And
so do you think that this is this really just about the farming power of being able to get the replicate up this quickly, or is that sort of the solid lane decisions and the execution that we've been seeing out of Vici? I guess what I'm wondering is can this be replicated by another team as easily as they've been able to make it happen?
I think very much the strongest part about this hero synergy is the replicate onto the Alchemist for the insane farm potential. Yesterday it seemed like, oh, they've got this really cool double Tombstone strat going with the hybrid Undying. It doesn't seem like that's a key part of the strategy. If you have a lot of team fights happening and you're in a much closer game, maybe that's where having the Undying and the double Tombstone from the hybrid can really matter. Not to mention the 10 strength decay that you get from making a hybrid of the Undying. In a game like this, though, where you're ahead, it's just insane because of the farm potential. So I think it's very much something that can be replicated by other teams, and it's not entirely about the laning setup. That Morphling just needs levels, so even if Morphling doesn't have the easy laning stage that he did because of the Undying up there, I think it still works as long as you've got something to secure some XP for the Morphling. You could replace the Undying with something like a Lich, let's say. Then you've got Dark Ritual, you pull the lane back, you get experience from that, and suddenly you're in the same position. I don't feel like this had to be an Undying. I think the hero is replaceable in this strat, and the two kind of core pieces are the Morphling and the Alchemist.
Yeah. I mean, you think about as well, just are going to be able to jump. God, that is not what you want to have happen.
Awkward. He may just be stuck up here for good. They'll lose Ice there. Now Burning looking to go up top. He's already used the Omnislash Blade. He will get the kill. Oh, what on earth was that? That adaptive strike onto the high ground from Isai's side. He buys back, buys boots of travel just to come back. He's like, guys, we're winning this game. I don't want to be dead for the last minute or 60 seconds of this Dota game. Let me get back into it.
Dire's bottom tower
That's
has
disgusting.
fallen.
Just so much damage. We do have the buyback by the Ember as well, so he's going to be on up here. But the Undying and Replicate is ready to party. He did already drop down his Tombstone earlier on in the fight. Remnant is going to be able to make sure that Ember Spirit's able to get out of there. But the Adaptive Strike on top of the two, maybe going to be able to stay alive is going to be this Abaddon. But I think that it's not going to matter at the end of the day. Like, they're so far ahead right now.
Double the net worth on Alchemist than the Ember or the SM. That's as bad as it gets. Alchemist now 8k gold. He's not even spending his money. Can buy and consume the Moon Shard, can finish an Abyssal Blade with that MP item slot. Options are there for Super, who now Lerma has an Aegis. Needs to be a bit careful here on the front line.
Lerma gave up is going to keep him alive. The Vici Gaming set of the Tusk does finally end up falling, as does Aggressive, and the Ghost Scepter is going to be able to keep alive that Abaddon. He might not actually end up dying again this game, but I think that the rest of the barracks will never mind. Apparently, Ice wants to make it happen. GG ends up getting called. He's just bouncing all over the place.
Quite the strategy, this Morphling Alchemist Undying. I want to see more of it. It's always going to be hard to get all three heroes. They've now used it twice in 2 days, so going into something like Frankfurt for the Valve Major, teams will obviously be like, this is one of Vici Gaming's strats, but the fact they're showing it now during a qualifier, yeah, it's for a big LAN event, makes me think that Vici Gaming have, one, other strats, two, they maybe don't think this strat's as insanely good as perhaps some people are making it out to be, like myself. I mean, I just love it because it's entertaining, but they're more than willing to show the strat, which I guess suggests they have either ways to adjust it, like pick something, like I said, a Lich instead of an Undying, maybe something they can alter with it, and yeah, they probably just have crazier strats as well that they can pull out. I'm really excited to see Vici Gaming in the upcoming Nanyang Championships in Singapore and then Frankfurt as well for the major.
Absolutely, and looks like we're going to be moving on into game 2, and I have a feeling we might not be able to see all of the same heroes that we saw in this last one. Might get some new bands coming out in a few.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised as well, guys. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with game 2. I'm Gods, joined by Lyrical, and you're watching the Summit for China. Don't go anywhere.
G2A.com
entertaining game 1. We saw the return of the Vici Gaming
Reserve time.
Morphling for Ice Ice Ice. We've got game 2 coming up. Vici Gaming taking on CDEC. We'll see if CDEC can bounce back, force a game 3, or if Vici Gaming are going to 2-0 their way to the winner bracket final. And then it's just one match away from the Summit 4, because 2 teams will be qualifying from China. So all these teams have to do is win this series and then one more, and they'll get 2 shots of it. So you lose that best of 5 winner bracket final, you drop down to the lower bracket, and you get one more shot to make it to LA to compete for over $100,000 and more, and counting with the crowdfunding. Guys, it's time. Game number 2 coming our way. Lyrical, how you doing, buddy? Are you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready. Super duper excited for this one. A great matchup already going to be seen. A little bit of changes coming out from CDEC in terms of what they're prioritizing. They do opt to ban out the Undying this time, but as we mentioned, that wasn't necessarily the thing that we both felt like was the big problem with the draft. Mainly it was that Morphling and the Alchemist, respectively, who were just tearing people apart and being able to farm on up a Storm. And I'm kind of curious if we might see a first phase pick out of these ones. Yeah. Spirit Breaker hasn't been taken out yet. You did mention that he's a very prevalent hero, but I don't know. You gotta kind of respect what ended up taking you down last time.
If Vici Gaming really want to push the limits and say, let's see just how good this strategy is, they might just pick Alchemist Morphling as their first 2 picks. And it's something where the cat's already out of the bag. Teams now know, okay, Alch, Morphling, Undying, or at least like 2 of these 3 heroes is one of Vici Gaming's strats. So you can really just, keep on working at it and to kind of test it, play it in some more officials to see how competitive it's going to be by opening with it right here. I think that's definitely a possibility. We'll see what the 2 teams have in mind, though. Vici Gaming may want to test something else out. They may have something else which they feel is just going to get them the win, because ultimately, like, experimenting is nice and all, but these teams want to make their way to LA to come to the LAN finals. So one more ban for Vici Gaming. We'll see what they have their eyes set on as far as taking out. Right now, the Doom, I don't think we're ever going to see a Doom. This hero just seems too good. And then Shiki's Lina banned out. You kind of mentioned a hero that may have been, well, actually, no, it was Roland here in the production who mentioned we need Shiki on something a bit more like a CDEC style hero rather than the SF of last game, which seemed more kind of carry-centric. So Lina gets banned out this time around.
Yeah, and if you do end up knowing that they have the possibility to go for the Alchemist, and you think about maybe wanting to go for that again as Vici, you would have wanted to formulate your draft around being able to burst down that hero, and what better way than with a Laguna Blade right into his dome. And I think that works pretty well. And you're seeing now as well a Tusk going to be picked up by CDEC. If they do end up picking something potentially like a Queen of Pain follow-up, that's a lot of burst damage that could come out very swiftly with a Walrus Punch, Snowball, Shards, into a Sonic Wave, Scream, Dagger. You should be able to burst down that Alchemist no matter where he's at on the map, as long as you're able to find him and get those heroes into position. So depending upon what lineup they want to go, I think they at least with this time being able to have that Tusk already set up and ready to go, another answer. And actually Queen of Pain is going to be taken by Vici instead.
Okay. So the co-op pickup, pretty open-ended as far as their opening draft is concerned. Doesn't really secure any of their lanes. In fact, Super not really known for his Queen of Pain play. So if anything, I see this and think, oh, it's kind of flexible, and they may just be leaning more towards running as a safe lane for Burning, as an off laner for Ice Ice Ice. Burning's actually played probably more Queen of Pain games than Super has, despite being known as kind of the big carry player of the Chinese Dota scene. So
5 seconds
I think Vici Gaming themselves aren't like in the mindset like, okay, we pick Quap for this player and for this lane. It's very much like we just pick Quap because it's completely open-ended. CDEC won't know where it's going. We can then react to what they pick and formulate our strategy around the Queen of Pain. And Spirit Breaker to go with it. Again, similar scenario where this could be an offlane hero for Ice Ice Ice, or at the same time can be played as a support. And it's a hero that fits any kind of play style, any kind of strategy. It's not like you've picked a hard carry and you've got to protect it. This is a hero that can play aggressive. You can fit it into a push strat. You can fit it into a team fight lineup. So very versatile, both of the Vici Gaming heroes so far.
Yeah, definitely. And that versatility is going to allow them to deal with whatever CDEC end up throwing at them. I think just mentality-wise, when I see these two heroes, I get a little bit terrified. And last game, what you saw was Vici sort of charging through the opponents and tearing them down by virtue of the farming they were able to do, the big lead they were able to build. This time, with the levels that you can get on these heroes and the space that they're able to sort of create around the map, I think that there's a real possibility that if CDEC don't respond appropriately, they're just going to get rolled over here, depending upon what the next picks are for Vici, of course. And Winter Wyvern, I think, is always a great pick if you do have the inkling that somebody might be going for some type of early push. Splinter Blast is great at pushing out those waves.
Yeah. And the one thing it doesn't give them is a way to kind of deal with the charge, which right now you often see teams pick up like a Rubik in response to a Spirit Breaker, but I think all in all, Winter Wyvern is going to offer a lot more than a Rubik can. It's kind of like guaranteed impact in a fire, whereas with a Rubik, it's like, okay, it may work, it may not, depends what spells you end up stealing. Can you get your hands on a Sonic Wave? Can you get like a Blink from the Queen of Pain for a Blink initiation? So I think the Winter Wyvern just more well-rounded and a lot safer of a pick for the CDEC side, even if they don't yet have an answer or want any way of countering the charge from the Spirit Breaker. Ember gets banned out, so another hero that CDEC love to run and is good against the charge, so options will be fewer for CDEC as far as their draft.
Absolutely. And another ban here coming out in a second from Vici. We do see the Broodmother banned out as well. All over the world, the people hate the Brood. There's no real surprise there at all. It's certainly a hero that can really change the way that you have to play your game. And I think that losing to a Broodmother is probably one of the more painful things to end up happening, besides potentially that terrible nature's prophet disgustingness that sort of infests the pubs as well. But Slardar and then a Gyrocopter. Wow. So if I'm looking at this right now, I am seeing early aggression, team fight, tear you down once you get those level 6s.
Yeah, that's very accurate. And I think one of the nice things they've also done with this is they've banned out two of Aggressive's hero, Ember and Slardar, and then they take one of his other big heroes, the Gyrocopter. So CDEC are suddenly running kind of short on options for their safe lane farmer. Aggressive's other hero he played a lot of in 6.84 was Phantom Lancer, but that hero has one of the worst win rates in 6.85, just not a hero that seems to win games whatsoever, so I don't feel like it's a good pick here at all. CDEC for now will get a Darkseer, and I think they've really got to think hard about what they pick for their safe lane farmer this game, because that could just win or lose in the game right there.
Yeah, Vici immediately respond as well here after the Gyro pick in the Darkseer with the Dazzle. And I love this pick right here because Dazzle, another hero that, while very, very defensive, can also be somewhat aggressive with a heal bomb, and Spirit Breaker being able to be all up in people's business. It seems like there's definitely that possibility. But as well as a Gyrocopter, you need that defensive support to keep you alive because he does attract a lot of attention. You're in the middle of people with call down, throwing out abilities. You want people want to burst you down. And if you're a Dazzle, then you're going to be able to keep them alive with the Shallow Grave. You get a full duration rocket barrage off on top of somebody. Likewise for CDEC, picking on up this Darkseer, it sort of doubles down on that potential to push out lanes while simultaneously have the ability to defend with the wall and vacuum. And then they follow it up with a big tanky Viper here.
Yeah, not a particularly flashy or exciting hero, but a very solid one. Will just sit mid, win the CS battle, and kind of build up towards some of those key items that you might need for your lineup. So we're not going to see a lot of it's not a very active hero, but Shiki often plays heroes that kind of sit mid for a bit more, look more for the lane control, and then just group up with his team later on. It's Aggressive's hero, which needs to be active now as a result. Something that can get a lot of benefit from the Iron Shell, the Surge, the Darkseer can provide. Slark gets banned out, so Vici Gaming are very much targeting bans on heroes that can kind of combo with the Darkseer.
Yeah. And not a ton of options really left as far as where it's going to go. For Vici, I think that they still are very open-ended in terms of what they might want to do. It's starting to look more and more like this is probably going to be a Queen of Pain mid. I don't imagine it's going to be in the offlane there, but Spirit Breaker can kind of go either way at this point. And I kind of would like at this point, Undying has already been banned out, the Tusk's been taken. What do you think about something funky like an Earthshaker? Is that too outside of the meta at this point?
It's all right. I think for Vici Gaming, it gives them a pretty good setup and here to have around for the Gyrocopter with the cooldown rocket barrage, so he can run in with the fissure, guarantee himself a cooldown. If not that, you could even consider something like a Clockwork, but Beastmaster comes out, so it will be a support Spirit Breaker, it looks like, although Beastmaster as well, every now and then you'll see like a 4-position Beastmaster. I don't think it's particularly strong, though.
Yeah.
So
I like this pickup a lot more than the one that I mentioned earlier. So the other key component that they were a bit missing was the ability to really have a ton of map control. And I think that Hawk is definitely going to be able to give them the sort of vision over the Roshan area when that does end up coming up as well. And I think that obviously Vici don't have a great lineup to be able to take it themselves based off of what they have, but they have a great lineup to contest it, I think. And they probably can take it once they get a medallion up on somebody, but it's not going to be that like really early take that you see with the TA or something else like that.
yeah. So we'll see CX last pick, still most likely looking for their safe lane farm unless they really go funky and put the Viper there. I like the idea of something like a Jug. We saw the Jug last game from Burning, and I think it could work for aggressive to go for that Max Blade Fury fighting Jug with phased drums and just come to the fights early, smoke up with your team, go for kills. Works okay with the Darkseer. It's not the best Iron Shell hero to have, but it's still pretty good. Sven, though, going to be the hero of choice. So, similar kind of thing. Sven has a bit more late-game farm potential. Normally, when we see Svens in the safe lane, it's played in a very greedy fashion where you're maxing the cleave early, you have support stacking up the jungle, the Ancients for you, and you're not really fighting. But I'm curious to see if Aggressive says, look, that's not how I'm going to play the Sven. I want to go for the early treads, drums, and go running around with my Darkseer and go for kills. We may even see him go for the max Stormbolt rather than going for the cleave, which most Svens are doing. So I'm very interested to see which style he chooses for this hero.
Yeah, or even going for something like a Blink Dagger as well to be able to hop on into the fray and chase on after these heroes. And you mentioned as well earlier, being able to interrupt that charge is really important. Sven obviously has the potential to do that. Again, the problem that you do end up facing with Sven is the mana concerns. And I'm, like you said, as well curious to see how he deals with that. I think that that's where the treads and drums ends up paying off a little bit more for you. So a lot of answers, a lot of questions that need to be answered in this lineup. And hopefully CDEC have those answers for us and we'll be seeing what they are very soon.
Yeah. So Vici Gaming will be running not an offlane Beastmaster, mid Beastmaster for Super. Kind of known for playing some of these tempo controller mids. He's done a few Beastmasters in the past. He played a lot of the Alk mid. He's kind of been less of the kind of carry, flashy mid player. Doesn't really play the Queen of Pains. The SF he plays, but he goes for the more kind of slow-paced, team-oriented mech BKB type build. So it will be an offlane Queen of Pain. Ice. Going to be handling that one, and that does leave Burning in the safe lane Gyrocopter. So all in all, I like this. I don't know if I think I like this, but I think Beastmaster as a mid, some games in the offlane he can just get zoned out and bullied too much, but as a mid you're kind of guaranteed to get a decent time on your Necro book and to be able to just have a high impact on the game. And despite being a melee hero, I think he should do at least okay against the Viper mid. He's going to lose the CS battle a little bit, but he should be able to at least get enough farm and a fast enough level 6 that when he gets level 6, you just call in like a Spirit Breaker charge or a Queen of Pain rotation, and suddenly you've got a kill on Viper.
Yeah, I think you're right there. He probably is going to have to play it a bit more like a Magnus, where you end up just passing out those nukes. There's the snowball forward, and you need to get out of there very quickly. Heal bomb is going to connect on to 3, though. Oh, God, from the backside as well. That's going to end up being super stop at the very beginning. And Beastmaster drop in. Do they have enough to take down Fenrir? They do as well. Tusk is going to take a couple more right clicks, though. So another very early aggression start. And Viper as well. Able to get a kill on the Queen of Pain up top. What is going on in this game, gods?
I'm not really sure. Whoa! Sniped at mid. The wild axis from Super actually killed the Viper, meanwhile. Super now getting body blocked at mid. A charge coming in. I don't know if they'll get this kill. They haven't got mana for another stun. Aggressive actually already used his Mango. I'm a little speechless. Q may even die here. We're not done yet. Possibly. And no Venom, so doesn't have the slow. Q should be able to escape. So it looks like both Viper and Quap went for the top bounty rune, and Quap lost. No, Quap actually went Shadow Strike level 1, which is where the kill happened. So I imagine Ice just got chased down and didn't have a blink escape.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a crazy little situation to see the start off with 5 kills at under a minute here. And I do like, Snowball is going to catch onto the Queen of Pain, but she's going to be able to blink away from that one. But look at how aggressive you're seeing this Viper be. Like, way under tower at this point, not at all afraid of anything that's going on here. The plus side is that the Beastmaster was able to get his bottle on up and has gone 1-1-1 essentially now in terms of his kills, deaths, and assists. So he's getting more farm than you would expect, and I think that is really what he needs at this point, because he needs to be able to toss out those wild axes to get the CS, because otherwise he's not really going to be able to do, I think, a ton against this Viper.
Yep. And for now, it's actually going for a second point early in boards. You can last hit with your boar as well. You get the double boar going. These things actually have decent damage output, so it's not all hope's not lost just as a melee here against a Viper when you for a Beastmaster because of that factor. So I could see him like level 4, especially with 2 points in axes, 2 points in the Call of the Wild, being at least competitive in the mid lane as far as CS goes. He's throwing out axes now. We'll continue to just use those whenever possible to get CS. And with a bit of bottle crowing, with some runes going his way, it looks like he won't get any runes, but we'll just bottle crow once more. We're seeing at least even CS with the Viper for now. I say for now because the Viper will get a few more levels, and that could change with more points in the poison attack.
Yeah. Well, and the slows abound in this lane. The boars are going to be hitting away, and the Viper is going to be doing the same type of thing, denying out the boar as well. Always a classy move to do that. It's going to be super. And the other thing, I mean, he's gotten changes to his right-click damage, now dealing 73 with just the one Iron Branch. It's really impressive the way that he's been able to be transformed into more and more of a mid player. I mean, he was before in the earlier patches, but consistently actually being a pretty strong presence here. So Boots now as well is going to make sure that he doesn't end up getting chased on down by this Viper, who's just a pain in the butt to deal with in lane.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give him the dirty look.
Trying to throw axes from afar just to get last hits now. And this is where Viper, when the lane's pushed out and Viper's level 5, he will keep you at your tower. You can't push him away with the boar because the boar is too squishy. So nice laning coming out from Shiki here in the mid against Beastmaster, but it still hasn't really punished the Beastmaster that much. He's still got similar CS. He's half a level behind, which is the main worry, and he is getting harassed a lot more, but he's still at least getting what he needs to out of this mid lane.
Yeah, certainly. We'll mention real quickly, gonna need to be a little bit careful here. Viper, if you end up having to run away, that's not the situation maybe. But this Winter Wyvern, while stacking up the camps, was also just jungling the medium camp to make sure that she got a little bit of extra levels at the same time. Kind of an interesting move. You don't often see a Winter Wyvern jungling just with the right clicks.
Yeah.
But if you're just
the
there, why
Alpha
not?
Wolf camp. Yeah, that is something a bit different, but the Alpha Wolf camp, one of the best camps to kind of clear out early because it gives the most gold as well as XP for how easy it is to kill. The downside being they dish out a lot of damage, but as a range hero, you just kite it around. So the Alpha Wolf camp, definitely your friend as a range support as far as camps you can look to kill.
And Viper now. Let's have the healing salve, the Ring of Aquila, going to be able to get that slow mana regen back up. A DD rune up on the Beastmaster. It's going to be able to get those denies out, and I feel like this lane is going to be pretty passive until we see some more rotations.
Yeah, and those
over
rotations could well come. I think Supers wants to hold the DD rune till he's level 6. Problem is, it may take a little while to still get level 6, because if he can get the Roar up with the DD rune and have a rotation from either Dazzle or the Spirit Breaker, that should be a kill on the Viper. Obviously, it's not going to be as simple as a 2v1 there. There'll be counter TPs or rotations from someone like a Winter Wyvern, potentially even Sven or a Tusk, whatever it may be, but that's kind of the general idea now for Vici Gaming, is once Super gets level 6, bring him back up, go for a kill on Viper.
While top lane, the Queen of Pain has been able to get a good amount as well. Level 4 currently trading hits with Aggressive. Both of them just sitting comfortably at their levels, and I think that right here it's going to be hard for you to get really any kills in any of these lanes until you get some type of rotation around. And Darkseer actually going to move on over into the jungle himself and take on out a few of these maybe stacks that potentially the Sven would have wanted, considering he has been somewhat rebuffed.
What build? Okay, so far Sven going for the early game build, like the non-farming build. He's got 2 points in stun, 2 in Warcry. Isn't leveling up the cleave just yet. Has saved 1 skill point, it looks like. So we'll have to see where he goes next. And for now, Ice is getting bullied out of this top lane a bit. But yeah, it does look like Darkseer is going to get the stacked priority for now, and Sven will be looking to go for more of a aggressive style carry where he gets involved more rather than he farms.
Ooh, this is a nice little combo as well. The Winter Wyvern Cold Embrace into the Ion Shell, making sure you clear out the stack. Oh, now they're going to chase on over here. I feel like considering you have the Beastmaster and the Queen of Pain, as soon as you get a couple more levels up on these heroes, you're going to be able to maybe steal some of these stacks, which might be another reason why they're having the Darkseer clear them out right now.
Yeah, and absolutely. And also clearing them out without bringing in the Sven means it's just less likely to get caught. So Super as well as Ice were trying to make their way in, but CDEC just keep them away. There is that risk of the Roar. Here we go. Mid lane, Viper Strike comes out. Super getting initiated on multiple TPs. Dazzle being the first, so there will be a grave if Super needs it. Actual Spirit Breaker TPing in first, and he's still got a charge. Goes in on Q, gets cancelled. That's the Vici Gaming support rotations, just turning that one around with a Roar.
Yep, and just like that, you end up getting out to a little bit of a lead. It's not the Viper that they were wanting to take, but is at least going to be able to take on out that Tusk, and already hurt a somewhat hampered Tusk who hasn't really been able to make his presence felt a ton on this map. Another stun on top of Warnuts in the top lane. This might be able to get a kill here. Scream of Pain comes out, another right click, but the armor is too much. Ooh.
Almost turns around for both of them, I guess. So both players will go back to Fountain now. Sven just treads wand. Nothing really obvious as to where he's going to go out of this build just yet. Actually got a third point in Warcry there, so very heavy on the bonus armor as far as his build's concerned.
And here comes the smoke on up with Burning. It looks like they might want to come and try and take these stacks here. They do have the bird up in the air to make sure that they have vision on everything, and they do spot out a double, but they're looking for a little bit more at this point and might be trying to take on out the Winter Wyvern. There's the Challen forward, the call down as well. He's not going to be able to get the Cold Embrace off before he falls, and that's enough to kill that Winter Wyvern with the rotation.
And they used the cooldown, which probably wasn't needed, but it's very much, let's get this kill as fast as possible, and it can set up for this tier 1 tower cake. But already CDEC in position to defend it. They've got the Tusk there for an Ice Shards. Aggressive has returned after healing up, so don't really see Vici Gaming likely getting this, which means Burning's rotation, while not ineffective, doesn't quite get what Vici Gaming maybe had in mind.
Then, unfortunately, because Queen of Pain is only level 5, isn't really a great point in time for them to contest this. Now, you end up coming back in a couple of seconds here after you take this stack as the Gyrocopter with your call down back up and maybe the Queen of Pain having finished her level 6. Then you have an opportunity to turn this back around with one more rotation, depending upon who it is. Maybe just the Spirit Breaker charging back in again, but just going to be stacking on up the Ancients for now.
Yeah, with the cooldown already back, that's the other reason why you do use the cooldown just for the Wyvern. It's got such a short cooldown as far as ultimates go that you can just continually use it for kill after kill after kill. Beastmaster so far fairly quiet. Is going for what we see Fata do on his mid Beastmaster, which is just 2 points in the axes, you max your Call the Wild, and then go back for the aura. Hope to see if he keeps getting points in the aura, but when you get the fast Necrobook, your Necrobook gets the benefit of the bonus attack speed from the aura, so you actually have better damage output with just 2 points in axes and max aura than you do maxing out your wild axes. So I really like this build that on the mid Beastmaster.
He's such an interesting hero in the way that he works and sort of being able to use, I mean, obviously it's in the name, all of his little beasts to, you know, do his work throughout the whole course of the map. And I think creates an interesting dynamic there. FY might be a little bit of trouble. They're sort of squaring off against each other down on the bottom way. There's the Warcry after they end up spying him. Shallow Grave not quite out. Doesn't end up popping out the COD Strength. A couple of rotations. The call down is going to hit on the first time as well as the Rocket Barrage. Aggressive is going to fall, getting a scream in the ear and followed up by the Darkseer going down to the Beastmaster after popping the DD.
Well, Vici Gaming, yeah, it's a big commitment of heroes, but they're killing off a Sven and Darkseer, 2 cores. So even if they bring 5 heroes for that, it's well worth it because who's actually farming on the side of CDEC? It's a support Wyvern up top who's just trying to get level 6, a Viper at mid. The Viper probably the scary of the two who's farming, but it's not a big deal. Vici Gaming didn't even have to bring 5, it was just 4 heroes. Fenrir was still at mid, so a very nice exchange for them.
I feel like at this point, if Spirit Breaker was level 6, might have tried to go for that kill on the Viper. They are going to be able to get the charge on up into the top lane here. I don't think that this is really to try and get any type of kill or anything. He's just wanting to soak up a little bit of EXP so that way he gets his 6. And meanwhile, the Winter Wyvern going to TP down to the bottom lane to just push it on out, get her level 6 up as well, and should be able to get that maxed out Splinter Blast relatively soon to one-shot the range creeps.
Right, size nearby sees the stack here with a Hawk, but he blinks away. I was a bit worried about the Sven catching him out. And wow, max Warcry from Aggressive on the Sven. This is not a build I've seen on the Sven. Definitely expected him to go for more of a fighting build, and I think quite likely will go back to the max stun, but we'll have to wait and see. Getting an early point in cleave, he may decide this will turn into a farming game. Has picked up a Helm of Iron Will, so either a Dominator or a possible Armlet for the Sven.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't, like you said, have never seen a Sven wait this long for the cleave, really, but it's going to give him a lot of single targets damage, definitely, and the extra armor has kept him alive except through that last fight. I think that also against the Beastmaster, it's going to help with their push because you're not going to have to be dealing with all of the little individual itty-bitty damage coming out from the Necronomicons as well as the boars and everything. Like, it synergizes well with whatever else is going on this map.
Physical damage gets heavily negated by 20 armor to all allies in an AoE around you, and it's a 14-second cooldown. This is actually ridiculous how much armor it gives you for an 8-second duration. That there's only 6 seconds of downtime for this spell. It's absurd, and the physical damage is pretty significant from a Beastmaster, especially once he gets the Necrobooks up. But elsewhere, I mean, it's still, like, I feel like for Vici Gaming, it's 70 to 80% magic damage. The 20 to 30% of the Beastmaster being physical can be largely negated from the Warcry.
Well, and the other thing as well that's a little bit clunky about it is that we have a TP on up to defend this top lane by the Viper. Not really going to be any big fight brewing out there, though. I guess the point that I was going to make, as we do look like they actually are looking for a fight with the Beastmaster rotating up, is that it feels like that's a spell that you could maybe go back for, because a lot of the damage that comes out in the mid game from Vici is going to be in the form of the magical and the pure coming out from like the call down as well as the sonic wave from the Queen of Pain. It all feels like maybe the real right click damage comes a little bit later, and I don't know, maybe that is a point that you could have gone back for and be able to farm since they're not really taking fights right now.
Yeah. The one thing it did do, we saw a little bit of mid lane, it does help you push. You just use Warcry on the creep wave, and the tower doesn't do very much damage at all to the creeps. So just playing devil's advocate, I think there's very much, it's hard to say whether or not this was the right way to build, and it does mean he's not farming particularly fast. He hasn't been able to farm stacks. He's only got his first point in cleave now. And I imagine this will be a Helm of the Dominator. You can use it to stack Ancients and fight bottom lane. Kill on the queue, another cooldown Rocket Barrage, burning. Find one kill, but maybe taken out in return. Sven comes in with the God Strength. It looks like they will get the Gyrocopter. 1-for-1 trade, carry for support. CDEC will be pleased with that one.
Yeah, and wasn't quite able to get into position, FY, to tossing out that grave. That's really why you need that hero, is to be able to make sure that you're consistently able to keep your Gyrocopter alive in the middle of those fights. The turnaround Winter's Curse, I thought that it was going to be a little bit of a waste, but was actually able to be somewhat useful. And Spirit Breaker, I feel like they might realize that they're charging across the map as he runs through the mid lane.
I think they know there's some TPs bottom. CDEC can't help him out that easily. Okay, yeah, they can. The TPs have come back up. Proving me wrong. And Fenrir's like, what's going on, guys? This is a bit of a trap.
Couple of a little bit strange plays coming out here, but gonna be able to at least defend that one, so the Viper does stay alive at the end of the day, and Spearbreaker, he wants to do what a Spearbreaker does, which is charge around. Unfortunately, wasn't able to charge away at the end of it. I think the other thing that I was just thinking about as we were talking about the armor is it also does negate the early weave coming out from Dazzle. So it sort of counterbalances the fact that you're already going to be having minus armor in the form of his weave. So I guess that's a little bit better. Sonic Wave to try and clear at the top.
Yeah, so it looks like CDEC with this group up should be able to get this T1 tower barring a big Vici Gaming defense to be mounted, and it looks like they're doing just that. Spirit Breakers come up, as has the Dazzle. They're preparing to fight this one. No Sven up here, as the weave does get used offensively.
They'll be able to catch this tower, and they're not going to be able to defend it, unfortunately.
They just can't. This is the stage of the game where Viper kind of takes over. He gets really powerful. He didn't even have to go for the mech, so he's got treads and drums with an Aquila and the mech on the darks here. Very strong 5-man coming out of the CDEC side.
Well, and I think that was something that I was thinking about in the laning stage here. We did see Vici try and prioritize shutting down both of the side lanes, and they were able to make it happen consistently. Winter Wyvern actually able to take out the Queen of Pain up top, expending the Winter's Curse yet again. But they didn't really shut down the Viper, and I feel like if you are able to shut down that Viper the gyrocopter gets a little bit fresh up in the top lane again, he really can't recover very well. So a little bit different, but maybe it's going to end up working out for them as well because you don't have... Let's be able to get out of there.
Let's say that was ambitious, but kind of reveals they had a lane ward as well. That was a long-range snowball from Bog. Mid lane, meanwhile, they're going on the Sven. Nope. A lot of cancelled initiations coming from both teams.
They're thinking about it. They definitely want to potentially get aggressive. These are both sides that I feel like want to fight early and often. And given the lineups, whenever you have a Spear Breaker on your team, we saw there a little while ago, he wants to charge on in. He wants to be able to battle. Gyrocopter as well. Going to be working on that Sanj and Yasha and going to be able to consistently toss out those cooldowns. Both of these sides ready to go if it does come to that. FY in the mid lane is going to have to grave himself. Roar does come out as well as a charge in on top of them. The Wild Axes do fall. It is going to finally be the Dazzle Dead, so they're not going to have a grave for this fight. Cold Embrace is going to be able to keep alive this Viper. This might not be the initiation that you want to be able to go for. Fenrir is going to fall yet again. Does Ice Ice have enough damage to be able to burn this back around? And I don't think so. They need to disengage at this point. No, another vacuum back. They're going to be able to catch on the super. He's going to fall. Cooldown on the several heroes. He's doing a lot of damage. A sonic wave onto everybody. They're turning it back around, and we're going to end up seeing Sven fall yet again to the rocket barrage. 4 heroes dead just when it looked really bad. Oh, and then jump forward.
Wow. That was just 2 heroes, Quap and Gyrocopter, winning that fight for Vici. The Sonic Wave and Cooldown could not have been better.
How did she have that? Didn't
it
she
just came
use
up.
it up top?
That was a little while ago. It wasn't up when the fight initially broke out. I clicked the Quap and it was like 10-15 seconds away. And then when Gyro showed up, it was just the stars aligned. They had the wombo combo they needed. And the fact that CDEC had like a 4v2, they felt confident like, oh, we can actually chase down the Gyrocopter. It doesn't matter if he hits a cooldown because they were fine against the cooldown. It was the Sonic Wave as the 1-2 punch that secured all those kills. With just a cooldown flak, Gyro was not going to have the damage he needed. It was just barely enough out of Vici to team wipe CDEC, not just turn it around, stay alive, and get a kill or two. That was like a 2v4/2v5 scenario coming out of Vici Gaming.
It goes to show the communication that you've got on this team right here and the ability to sort of communicate. I'm sure that in that moment right there, they were yelling at each other over TeamSpeak or whatever software they're using, like 10 seconds, hold out until then, and they wanted to turn it back around, and we're able to make it happen. Meanwhile, now we're going to see the blink away. No, not able to get it. Ice does fall to the Winter's Curse. Unfortunately, Dazzle does manage to get in time to toss out the Weave, but not the Grave, and Queen of Pain is going to fall. Going to charge in again. It's going to be able to land on top of 2, but this is still a little bit ambitious. I'm never going to doubt him again, though. Buyback on the Queen of Pain. She's actually in the middle of all this. 25 seconds until the Sonic Wave is back up. Looks like they're going to go back for the Nether Strike on top of the Sven. Call down on top of several. Wall as well as the Vacuum. Gardner's starting to fall. He's going to end up going down another charge on top of the Viper. And that's 1 hero dead for each side now. The Tusk and the Spear Breaker. They're going to call it off for now.
Nice, ready to go with the Sonic Wave soon. But I think it's CDEC who maybe have the better position to keep on fighting. They put a Blink stun. They can find a good jump, not to mention Viper Strike back up. And there we go. Sven blinks in, goes in on Ice, who gets Grave. It does look like that'll be enough for Ice to stay alive.
Necro Book level 3 is also picked up for Super, so going to start to play a big role in these fights despite the heavy armor advantage that they do have. I think also now the Aghanim Scepter going to be finished relatively soon on the Quap, only 800 gold away from finishing that one off. That is going to play a huge role in terms of their ability to really contest and fight against this squad that's really backboned by the Viper. Considering he does already have the 15 armor, the ability to have that pure damage to pierce on through it is going to play such a big role, and have that on a consistent low cooldown, 40 seconds with that Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, no, that'll be really handy for them. So we'll see. Probably just head towards the top lane to try and finish that one off. Have to be careful though, because CDEC I think will continue to try and fight, be aggressive. This Viper is just getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. Yasha now 2.6k gold, so potential SMY pickup, potential Manta style, even just the casual Yasha, pretty nice item to have as a Viper. But Gaming, it's Gyro who's still the top of the net worth chart, so the standard kind of phase SMY BKB build will be the name of the game for Burning.
What do you think about the blink? Oh god, they're actually going to jump up on Queen of Pain again.
Done ready. They can have a vacuum to follow, and have they got the damage? Not quite 20 HP. Barely escapes. Another blink coming, but it won't be soon enough for Sven to chase it down.
What do you think about this blink pickup for the Sven? Do you think that he's going to be tanky enough to deal with the massive magical damage that's been coming out?
I think it's okay. If you want to tank it up against the magic damage, you go for a BKB, but if you go for the BKB too early, then you really suffer. Just from hearing what people like Envy have talked about when they're casting, and what you see with a lot of players and carry when they go for a fast BKB. Yes, it's an item that you have to buy this game, but if you buy it as your first item, it gets down to 5 seconds too damn fast, and that's really a big loss for a core hero who you basically want to try and hold off getting the BKB as long as possible. That's kind of, to me, what's become the general rule. If you can fight without it, that's why SMY's become so popular, because it's an item that gives great stats, gives you survivability in the form of hit points as well as movement speed. It's going to be a better option to get an item like that and then get the BKB later. So we're seeing more and more SMYs into BKBs. Not because SMY is an amazing item or gives you anything that exciting. I mean, you look at what BKB does. It's magic immunity. SMY, it's stat points. Like, SMY doesn't actually do anything crazy, but the only reason people buy it before BKB is because they don't want a fast BKB. BKB is a weaker item the earlier in the game you get it. And that's where I think Sven... He hasn't gone for an SMY type item, he's gone for a blink, but if he got the BKB here instead and goes for the survivability option, he's going to struggle in the late game. So he gets the blink dagger first. Now we can go back for either a BKB, an SMY, something to transition towards that late game item that can give him some survivability as well as damage output.
Gotcha. Well, and I think also here as well, the fact that you're getting a couple of Glimmer Capes up on these other supports does probably make a big difference in terms of your survivability against that magical damage. So I like it. The always aggressive, wanting to be aggressive, makes a lot of sense there as well to pick that one up. And it looks like he is going to be going back for it now after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, BKB recipe has been bought. So Jaro gets the bottom tier 1. CDEC unable to get in position to defend this one. Aggressive just pops a casual ulti. May look to farm up these Ancients with it, though. Yeah, looks like that's the plan. Was pinged out. Vici Gaming know about this.
Potentially wanting to contest it, but you got that God Strength coming out level 2. That's a lot of damage very quickly. Not really going to be able to get there in time. Aghanim Scepter now finished on the Queen of Pain as well, so she's ready to rock and roll. I think that there's also this sort of moment here for Vici where you don't necessarily want to fight before the Aghanims if you know it's coming quickly, because the cooldown is obviously so long before you end up getting it that just waiting those extra couple of minutes is, or even just minute or two that it ends up being, is pretty important. Do end up seeing another little range creep off to the side here that's going to get charged by Spirit Breaker. Hey, so much hate.
It stopped the stack. just took away about 150, 200 gold from your opponents. I guess that's worth it.
Yeah, it's totally. Why not? It's a pretty cool little play there. I always like to see those little things. It reminds me of the what was that? The Arteezy denying out the sniper from the creeps down there in the bottom lane. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but whatever, it's fine. I remember it. It was beautiful. 5-man smoke on through the mid lane, and they're going to look to try and contest down here and potentially see if they can find somebody taking the stacks, but not going to find anybody home. Oh, going for Roshan maybe.
Ooh, they have Hawk on their side, so they may be able to spot CDEC coming in. Right now, CDEC grouped up near this mid lane, so they can respond quickly. They've got a smoke of their own, and now may be the time to use it, but they've got to go fast, and it's going to be a Surge Viper illusion that scouts it out, but they're too late, it looks like. Roche is going to be dead already. I say that, CDEC, though, they're approaching this one.
Charge on in, Sonic Wave on top of 3. They are going to be able to get the Aegis up on the Gyrocopter. He pops his BKB as well. Darkseer dropping a little bit low. We do have the the Winter's Curse coming out. Viper is able to take on down the Spear Breaker now and looking to chase a little bit further. Queen of Pain is up there on top of the Darkseer. She gets the Shadow Strike out, but the Snowball might have saved his life. We'll see if he's going to be able to survive with the Glimmer Cape. Yeah, I think that he's going to be okay here and just going to be able to get away from that one scot-free, only losing the Winter Wyvern for the Spear Breaker.
Yeah. Aegis and Roshan claimed by Vici Gaming, so all in all, good result for their side, and for CDEC, unfortunately, not being able to contest Roshan, but still not costing them much. They're still sitting fairly solid on their core heroes. Viper especially farming really well. Now has a Manta-style Sven. Starting to get some good catch-up farm. Has gone back for the cleave we talked about, and we'll have the BKB in a few seconds here. So we'll see Sven kind of build towards that late game fighting items that will help him out, but not going to be easy to fight with a BKB. There's Raw as well as Nether Strike to go through it. Sonic Wave does damage through it, but most importantly, it's the control that the Beastmaster and the Spirit Breaker can provide.
Definitely. It's always such a pain when you're in there just wanting to try and hit away at those creeps and you end up getting knocked off course by one of those big old spells. And now with Beastmaster having the Blink Dagger as well, if you do end up getting into a situation where you want to try and find some type of initiation with the blinked forward by the Sven, if the Beastmaster's sitting behind you, you're going to be able to jump on in and disrupt the engagement. There's the jump forward. Roar is going to end up catching onto the Tusk, and he's going to fall apart immediately. Just too much damage.
Yeah, nice little free pick off. It looked like the Hawk giving vision they needed overhead there. It will expire now, but just using the map control advantage from the Beastmaster to take objectives like Roshan, to find pickoffs like they just did. Aggressive throws another God Strength here in the mid lane. Needs to get the BKB off, does do so. Knows there's no Raw to fight into, but Nether Strike could come soon here. Burning in the mid lane, has the BKB up, pull down there, the Winter's Curse is used. Sonic Wave completely off the mark, and it's aggressive on the Sven, who's trying to get a blink out, should be able to do so, gets up to the north, onto the cliff here. Ice still chasing, but won't be able to catch up to him, so just the Tusk kill. A 5v5 fight and one dies. It really feels like these teams are just going at each other, but not many people are actually going down because of the great support and defensive plays coming out from Glimmer Capes, Cold Embrace, great stunts from a Spirit Breaker. But aggressive, I say that, he may still die.
Yeah, Sonic Wave, or not Sonic Wave, Sonic Wave's on cooldown, but Scream of Pain's still going to be able to be there. He is going to get one more right click and end up falling. The Sonic Wave was able to bring down the Sven a little bit, but he was the only one it hit onto, and that is definitely one of those spells where you want to be able to get it on the multiple heroes. Thankfully, they were able to get the kill off on the Sven at the end of the day, which I think does kind of make up for it. We do have a charge on over into mid. Spirit Breaker seeing the Viper does end up canceling that one. 2 more minutes up on this Aegis. We'll see if they try and take an objective with it.
Yeah, it looks like they are grouping around this mid lane. Ice, no mana for a Sonic Wave, so he's picking out this top lane, probably trying to scope out whether or not someone like the Dazzle with Arcane Boots. Dazzle with Arcane Boots can come up top and probably give him that little bit of juice to keep this push going, but doesn't seem like Vici Gaming are wanting to fight now, considering there is no Sonic Wave. But I think this will be a free tier 2 tower. If CDEC do come and try to defend this one, it'll be very difficult for them to take a fight, even with the Sonic Wave not being available.
Well, and it's a bit of an okay timing as well, just because it's right before level 16. But yeah, you mentioned it. There's the tower ends up falling.
They want to fight this one. Snowball, I don't believe it's going to connect. Nope, too far with the Blink Dagger. Super. Find some ice shards here. May just need a TP out, but see if he can find his way home. So there's going to be a Winter's Curse available. Yep, they'll use that on Super, so no escape for the Beastmaster. Couldn't quite find somewhere to fog the CDEC chase.
Yeah, a little bit too bad there. And now that that's level 2, the 100-second cooldown, a little bit more palatable to toss that out for a single hero, particularly the mid hero and the Beastmaster, who's sort of been able to cause a lot of havoc all over the map. And just having him off of there for a little while is going to ensure that you aren't worried about ganks as often. So you're going to be able to be a little bit more assertive in terms of each of your laning, where you're farming at least. Level 16 soon to come on this Queen of Pain, who's actually way across the map. She's going to go and try and get a courier snipe right now, it looks like, over on the side, and she's going to end up finding it. 1, 2, 3 should be enough to finish that one off. Nothing on it, but just a little bit of hate tossed the way of the Dire there.
Oh, poor. It's a rough life being a courier in a Dota game sometimes. Forward burning. Oh, his Age just expires, but the Grave comes into play. Perfect timing for Aggressive.
Actually, nice Grave.
Oh, still going to cooldown. May look to turn this one. Aggressive wants to chase, but with his BKB wearing off in a second, he's going to be careful. Roar onto Shiki underneath the tier 3. Cold Embrace is there. The Sonic Wave as well goes through to some good damage, but the entire CDEC side is still very, very healthy here. Fenrir rocks up with a great Nether Strike. Will bash Aggressive, hits him with the 17%. Rolls lucky on the Casino, and we'll bring him down as now the cooldown onto 2. It looks like turn around with the Snowball. No Grave this time. Vici Gaming have lost 3, possibly a 4th and a 5th. Fenrir will just charge through, stun up 3, create room for the Queen of Pain to escape, and it's CDEC all day long. diving the enemy base. Ultra kill for Viper. That was just a mess for Vici Gaming.
You kind of wonder at that point, had the Queen of Pain been there at the very beginning of that fight to toss out that Sonic Wave, would have been enough to turn it back around. And now CDEC very comfortable. Oh my god, that Sonic Wave dealt a lot of damage. They're going to run on home after that one.
Level 16, I guess, for you. The biggest thing, though, Burning's Aegis timing expiring there. They had the ward, it looks like, that spotted out the gyro behind the tower. So that was not like a blindly blink in as Sven. He timed that exactly. CDEC knew the exact second the Aegis was going to expire, and they jumped onto the gyrocopter as it did. Gyro did not get the BKB that he... Like, if he super fast fingers hits the BKB, he's fine there, but... He's also thinking like, oh, I'm a blink stun, I've got Aegis, but maybe he wasn't thinking about that exact second when the Aegis was going to be wearing off. But CDEC, they knew, and they capitalized.
Absolutely. Looks like Gyrocopter, to deal with all of this physical damage that's been coming out on top of him, he's going to be going for that Eagle Song next. So once he gets that Butterfly, that's going to really be a turning point in this game. I do feel like the charge forward, looking for their potential to jump on top of Sven, but isn't going to be able to happen.
I think Gyro, his Butterfly going to take a bit longer now because of that buyback. He was like 700 or 800 gold short of it, and now he's got to climb his way back up.
Definitely. Darkseer Guardian Greaves, I was going to mention as well that for how disastrous that last fight ended up going, they didn't end up losing a tier 3 tower, which I totally thought they were going to. The fact that Ice was able to toss out that Sonic Wave and really hit onto 4, keep them pushed on back. If you have Guardian Greaves at that point instead, I think that you're able to sort of sustain the push, but not being able to have it, they did have to back on out. And Aghanim Scepter now also going to be picked up for the Viper.
Nice little pickup, being able to spam this out onto the gyrocopter especially. The craziest thing to me about this game is we're 32 minutes in and we're seeing the biggest gold advantage yet, and it's only 3,000. A 3,000 net worth lead for CDEC. Absolutely nothing. These teams have been neck and neck from start to where we are now, and even now, this 3,000 lead does not feel all that significant. The gyrocopter's keeping up in farm. If not for that buyback, we would be pretty much looking at even Stevens on the gold graph. So... right now, the two teams very much feeling like there is no kind of... there's no one with an advantage here in game number 2, despite how one-sided game number 1 was.
Well, and also just how one-sided a lot of the games in Dota have felt recently, that I feel like consistently there's some team that's always playing from behind, either because of an outdraft or because of just a misexecution play. And right now they're, like you said, very even, but not only even in terms of what the gold advantage is, also even in terms of how well they're going to scale into the late game. I think that both sides have a very real possibility of being able to take this late, and with the BKB already being finished on the Sven, of course, that's already down to 8 seconds. But likewise, on the other side of the table, you do have the Gyrocopter's BKBs down to 7 seconds. So it's going to be somewhat equal here.
It does affect the Sven more, I'd say, especially as a melee carry. It makes it a lot harder for him. He's more likely to get kited around. You've got spells like Shadow Strike, that can be annoying. There's no Poison Touch, I guess, which is good news for him. But the stuns from the Spirit Breaker, whatever it may be, it's more likely the Sven gets kited than the Gyrocopter. Well, Gyrocopter's going to get kited BKB or not because of Viper Strike. So for the Gyro, it's like, well, he's going to get slowed. He just needs to get his spells off and try and flack off something. So the BKB, much bigger deal for the Sven, but very much, I totally agree with your initial point. Both teams are going to go well into the late game. I think, if anything, CDEC maybe do slightly better. The Darkseer, Winter Wyvern, you've got Winter's Curse with a Vacuum. There's great synergy between these two heroes. Tusk stays relevant in the late game. Walrus Punch, Snowball being amazing spells. And he's got a Solar Crest on top of all this. So I really do feel like if either team does have a slightly better late game lineup, it is possibly CDEC here.
Well, and we'll see how it ends up working for them. I will say also the wave clear for Vici is pretty good in this matchup.
It's about to get better, by the way, with Queen of Pain building towards an Octarine core.
Oh, jeez.
30-second cooldown.
That is pretty disgusting.
Once per creep wave if you want. It's no longer every 40 seconds. You go down to 30 seconds, which is exactly how long it is between creep wave spawns.
Oh, there's the roar on top of the Winter Wyvern. That's the person that you want to take down at the very start of this fight. Does end up getting eliminated there. The Gyrocopter staying alive with the Shallow Grave. Does end up getting off the cooldown as well onto several different heroes here. Need to be able to get on out of there. Viper does take down the Dazzle. Both defensive sports. He's going to be able to make his way out. Oh, God, the stun. Dodged by the Beastmaster. Turning around a little bit more. Oh, going to be able to stay alive through the snowball with the Tusk. Nicely done there. Needs to get denied in a second, though, I believe. We'll see if that ends up happening here, or if he's going to survive through it.
Glimmer, that's going to be enough for him, I guess. All right, blocks a bit of the magic damage, and we check out Roshan, which not going to be the easiest, but Sven has lifesteal. Viper has plenty of damage, so successful team fight for CDEC. Man, I can't believe, and it really felt like they would have been able to kill the gyro there. I don't think they had the detection. They had the gem, which I think was initially lost, but then recovered. Super now getting put out in the jungle. Viper, they actually stopped just going for Roshan to get these couple of kills. Burning now. He will end up dying, and Shiki is on a beyond godlike streak. Viper, I normally think, oh yeah, it's great in the early game, can push down some towers, he's kind of boring to watch. I mean, this has not been like an exciting, like, oh my gosh, Viper's making all kinds of plays, but he's not falling off like a Viper normally does. This has been a Viper who has maintained his presence for 4 stages of this game.
Well, he's 15-2-3. Like, he hasn't died, really. He's been getting almost all of the kills right now. Does have, what, only 7 of them haven't come from him throughout the whole course of this game.
Not a hero known for his ability to secure kills. It's not like you're a Lina or something. This is just pure right clicks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The Manta style also making sure that he's able to stay alive, and maybe going to be able to do something here now. Just going to vacuum 2 heroes back and jump forward, maybe on FY.
We'll turn around, throw a Sonic Wave out. FY, great wearing off, but doesn't look like CDEC want to commit onto this high ground just yet. Viper now with a MKB pickup means that this butterfly not going to matter as much for Gyro. FY gets chopped down. That was without the God Strength. Oh boy, Vici Gaming in a lot of trouble for the high ground defense here. Still 10 seconds before Gyro's back.
And you kind of are wondering now with that crazy amount of damage that's coming out from this side, if it would have been good to make sure that you're able to hurt down that Viper. Oh, Roar comes down now on top of Aggressive.
What are you doing there? My friend, that's not how to play this one. Luckily, the Sonic Wave was on cooldown. Otherwise, he would have been dead, but the Sonic Wave about to come up any second now. Blink forward. There's the Sonic Wave. Just gets the Darks here, though. Maybe he was fishing for the Sven further back, but Sven said, you guys are going to ignore me, I'm going to take your mid Rax. So Rax was claimed, aggressive, now comes back to the fight, but not sure he can fight. Into Super Ultra, low on HP, poison from the Queen of Pain, blink forward, aggressive. Easy kill, Cold Embrace not available. The Glimmer Cape, I don't think it's going to be enough. The poison is there, could go for a deny. He tried to go for a lifesteal, I guess. He tried to run and go for a creep there, but it's a team wipe nonetheless. If he wants, he could buy back, pick up some boots of travel, and go for the game-ending blow here, but possibly feeling confident in Shiki to do this by himself. Shiki, initially going for tier 4 towers, will quickly realize, it's not working, let's just get the bottom racks.
He was really the game changer again in that fight. They just can't burst him down. They don't have enough damage to make it happen right now. Like, even if you roar on top of him, you Sonic Wave on top of him, you throw the call down, everything else there, with the Glimmer Capes potentially being able to get tossed out on top of him, as well as just the 2200 HP he's got right now. He's so ridiculously tanky. And the Viper has taken over this game.
Well, that's it. GG is called, and we are going to a Game 3 decider here in Vici Gaming versus CDEC. Winner bracket semifinals of the Summit for China. The winner of this series is just 1 match away from coming to LA, and they'll have 2 shots at that 1 match. First in the winner bracket, and then in the lower bracket, as there'll be 2 China representatives. So fantastic series is brewing. We're going to a Game 3 decider, and I don't really feel like there's a clear favorite going into Game 3 right now, Lyrical.
No, not me either. And I'm curious if we're going to see some more craziness coming out from Vici that ended up winning them the first game, or if they're going to be able to just be confident in their straight-up play that we saw a little bit more normal and towards the meta this time around. We'll see what they go for.
here between Vici Gaming and CDEC. I'm Gods, joined by Lyrical. And it's time to see who's going to move on to the winner bracket final, be one game away from making it to Los Angeles for the Summit Fall Finals. Lyrical, Game 3 draft starting to unravel. I'm excited.
5 seconds.
Oh, I'm excited too. I can't wait. You know, each of these games have been entertaining in their own right. They've been able to bring something new and exciting to the scene. For me, at least, it was being able to see, obviously, the Morphling just go absolutely ham with the Alchemist in terms of their farm rates. Second time around as well, a super evenly matched game. Not something that you often see in Pro Dota nowadays. I always feel like one team is either playing from ahead or behind, and at that point, there wasn't a really clear position that either team was really far ahead until it really started to all fall apart with the Viper just going crazy. And this time, going to be seeing somewhat of the similar types of heroes that we've seen consistently. There was a Tusk into an Ember Spirit Dazzle, followed up by the Queen of Pain. So a couple of combinations of heroes here. Obviously, the Dazzle meant to make that Ember Spirit stay alive a little bit longer, and the Tusk Queen of Pain dealing out a lot of very quick burst damage out of Vici.
Yeah, and I think, importantly, taking the Tusk away from CDEC too, which they ran both the last 2 games. So being a hero which is still, despite some small nerfs in the 6.85 patch, is a top pick, not just in China, but all regions. This hero still reminds me a lot of like the old Bat Rider. Like, you can nerf his spells, but it's just the fact of what it's like the nature and the overall like mechanics around the hero. Snowball being able to save teammates and use as a pseudo disruption. You can dodge spells with it. Walrus Punch being a BKB piercing ultimate that can disable something like a BKB Requiem or be used as a blink initiation tool. So the hero really just has a great skill set, and nerfs aside, he's still going to be strong even in the current patch. And he fits the metagame really well. He kind of peaks at the right times. He has a lot of good early to mid-game presence, and then he can also scale well into the late game.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, just the natural ability to initiate. I think that really he came into his own when they took away the fact that Snowball moves at the same speed regardless of if you have heroes in it or not, multiple heroes in it or not. When that change ended up coming about, all of a sudden you saw this Tusk all over the place, and for good reason, because he's now powerful at every stage of the game, and he doesn't necessarily require you sort of diving headlong in with all of your teammates. But for now, Winter Wyvern also going to be banned out, as is the Lina and the Alchemist, as well as the Broodmother. So relatively standard stuff so far. Not going to be seeing the crazy combo that we saw, but this does leave the Night Stalker there, who's going to get picked up by CDEC. First time we're seeing him so far in this draft, and if there is ever an annoying hero, that was certainly one of them.
Yeah, I think the hero was banned in the first stage, I even want to say, by Vici Gaming the last couple of games. So even maybe it was banned by CDEC. It was definitely banned out by the 2 teams previously. But this time around, not banned in the first stage or the second. And yeah, CDEC will grab it either as a kind of support or an offlaner. Well, Urshek is back. You're going to talk about this hero at the end of the last draft. We did not get to see... I mean, this hero has just disappeared off the map in 6.85. But we'll get to see a shaker here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked about this a fair amount in my cast as to why I think that this is the case. And I think more often this has been the patch of dual off lanes. And while Earthshaker can help you secure a lane, he doesn't do that well in a defensive tri lane, which is one of the ways that you can deal with a offensive dual lane, hoping to find kills there. Because once you lay out your fissure, you don't really have a whole heck of a lot of follow-up to do anything beyond just going in there and right click, and that's not what you want to be able to do as an Earthshaker. You want to be able to lay out your spells and put your team in a good position that they need to sort of overwhelm the enemy. But if you're roaming around in the Earthshaker, that means that your safe lane's relatively weaker and you have to pick a defensive support, and then it just seems like instead what we've been seeing as the answer is to have very strong mid lane heroes with either a Queen of Pain, a Wind Ranger, Lina, something else like that, and then sort of do another dual off lane yourself that is offensive, or potentially go run the defensive tri lane.
Yeah, and despite there being a lot of these, like when you mentioned the dual off lanes, but we're also seeing like a lot of dual lane mids, like where support will help secure the mid a good start. Urshik is good at roaming and ganking the mid lane. He's not good at really dual laning the mid lane. You'd rather have a Dazzle or a Winter Wyvern, someone who can just go up and start right-clicking away the opposing team's mid. Earthshaker does not harass. He doesn't right-click people. He sits back, throws a fissure from Fog, and allows the mid laner to do the harass. But that's where I feel like he also fell off as that mid lane +1, because he doesn't really zone at all. He's just sitting in the Fog waiting for that time to use fissure. So not quite offering the same as what some of these other supports might do. CDEC for now, though, pick up Phoenix as their 4th pick, and I want to say this might be XZ's hero. He played a Phoenix yesterday, got completely out of control on a core Phoenix, ended up being like one of the most farmed heroes on their team that game. And that would mean the Night Stalker is going to be more of a support. But either Night Stalker or Phoenix in the offlane core position, the other can play that 4 position role, giving CDEC a very strong team fight right now with the Supernova.
Well, and of course, also as the game goes later and later, they get to choose the team fights they want to take because you got the Night Stalker who's going to give you great vision. I think, though, with the Silencer pick, this is kind of interesting. I think that this makes sense. Probably going to be played in the support role, I would imagine, which isn't necessarily a role that I love for this hero. But oftentimes when you have the Ember Spirit there, I feel like you get that Silencer as a support so that way you're able to... use the global to just take out the Ember Spirit's ability to escape from a fight. You can combo that with an Earthshaker Fissure from afar and then just hopefully burst him down with the combo of Tusk and Queen of Pain or whatever you end up wanting to bring over there.
And the laning stage is so good at zoning a Phoenix because you can't dive, you can't use dive to escape against Last Word. So I like the pick from Vici Gaming. They didn't really hesitate to grab it. They hadn't secured themselves as like zoning safe lane support yet. And something that Vici Gaming have run before in the past, generally for FY. We'll have to see who out of him and Fenrir plays the Shaker Silencer, but either way, I think it's a pick that suits the Vici Gaming lineup very well. Does put the Tusk in... I want to say the Tusk in the offlane. I guess Shaker can also be played as an offlaner rather than a roaming hero if they want to do the Tusk support Shaker offlane. And now Vici Gaming just looking for the last pick core hero. As you'd probably expect Burning's hero, I imagine, out of this.
Yeah, definitely. Now that they have that Shadow Fiend pick, though, you mentioned that there's the potential for the Earthshaker to run into that that offlane there. I wonder if it would be worth it to run the Tusk in the offlane and just have that Shaker sit mid and get ready to jump on top of that Shadow Fiend. Obviously, Dazzle is probably going to be... That would force Dazzle to sit mid a little bit more if you have that pressure from the Earthshaker mid as well, and then your Ember Spirit's a little bit more exposed against the Tusk. There's kind of some trade-offs there in terms of how you want to run that dual mid, and you mentioned that this is a reason why Shaker has fallen off. I wonder if we're going to be seeing that in this game.
Yeah, and I feel like if the Shaker is going to be camping mid and play as support, Dazzle just does a 2v2 mid. You have Dazzle there, and the beauty of the Dazzle, to go back to what I say, is that he can trade hits with Quap and harass. Earthshaker can't really harass Dazzle or SF because they'll just kite you back. They've got the range advantage. All you can do is Fissure. So I think CDEC can do well in 2 of the 3 lanes if the Shaker tries to like roam around and be that kind of mid lane assistant hero, because you can just Dazzle SF mid. You have the Ember Spirit who does fine in the safe lane against what would be an Ice Tusk. So last pick for Vici Gaming now is a Gyrocopter. We'll see just the standard safe lane carry for them, something that can fight early, have a lot of early to mid game presence, and then also scale well into the late game, although it did not work out for them in game number 2.
Well, and you mentioned also as well, as we talk more about this somewhat of an interesting pick, a couple of interesting picks in this one. I think probably the Earthshaker and the Phoenix, the 2 that stand out to me, that Vici haven't really been playing a lot in the recent past. So maybe they have something up their sleeve as far as a reappreciation of the Earthshaker, or maybe they just haven't been seeing that he's not a popular hero. But regardless, certainly going to be hoping to make his presence felt early, because that's really what this hero is all about.
I think part of the reason why Ember's being picked a lot more in 6.85 compared to 6.84 was because Shaker's actually a good counter to the Ember. In the one of the big things to be able to catch an Ember is to have an instant jump and catch potential, which Shaker has. You can use Fissure either from Fog, or you can use a Blink Echo Slam once you get that Blink Dagger up, which by the time you're at the stage of the game where Ember's a really big threat, where he's got his Battle Fury, Daedalus, and whatnot, Earthshaker's going to have a Blink. So you can lead the way with a Blink Echo Slam if you need to, or the Fissure. So you've got plenty of control, silence, coming out of this Vici side. The Silencer not just good against the Phoenix, but also good against the Ember Spirit. This is going to be a tough Ember Spirit game once we kind of get into the late game. Looks like they saw this early ward planted, though. CDEC pinging it out and likely to get a fast D-ward off.
They also, for Vici, were able to block the Phoenix from laying down the ward over in the pole camp. So back and forth we go. We do see the Shadow Fiend get a nice little soul from the ward as well. Apparently eyes have souls.
30 seconds.
Give to the Shadow Fiend.
Everything has souls in Dota, I guess. There used to be a cool strat where you could go Veno SF and put a Plague Ward in the Roshan pit. Rosh would hit the Plague Ward once, it wouldn't kill it, then SF would deny the ward, and you could have max souls on the first creep wave as an SF. Like, you'd have 12 souls and you'd go to lane. It was absolutely absurd. But then now they've moved the Roshan pit a bit further away, so I'm not sure if that's actually still a feasible strategy or not.
The battle
Well,
begins.
regardless, Shadow Fiend just coming to lane with 1 soul this time around, but very happy to have it indeed. And does get a lane ward up as well.
Phoenix takes the other bounty rune, gets the bottom one, so no bounty rune for Vici Gaming this game, and that's a nice little pickup for XZ, considering he is going to struggle in this off lane, so having a little bit of XP bonus, already halfway to level 2, will help him out a lot.
Grand Theft bounty rune. Making it happen. It does look like the Shaker is going to come on over here and run into the Dazzle. This is kind of cool. The positioning now for this Earthshaker works pretty well for him. He's going to be able to right-click away, and hopefully this means that he's going to have a little bit more of a harassment presence than he would otherwise. But Dazzle actually hits pretty dang hard and fast with those right clicks.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the Dazzle. Not to mention you got the heal. Top lane is where Guard is going to start off with, doing a lot of harass here. Warnuts may go down here, but he didn't quite get the Void off. Now the stun underneath the tower. Another Void. It looks like Ice may be paying for this one, but he's juking around the trees. He got the Tango region, and he's got a Stout Shield. Guard is going to lose this fight. First blood to Tusk. That Tango Stout Shield. The Tango region combined with the damage block of the Stout Shield. And he baited him.
Don't forget about the Mango, the most excellent of
yeah.
items.
That
Oh
regen.
god, that was so good.
That was all
just
the
a
Mango.
great
What are we
joke.
talking about, Lyrical? That was Mango Dota right there.
Oh, it's wonderful. I also love the Earthshaker set. Just random little things abound, but it's good to see the game start off like that. Not necessarily because of favoring one side or the other, but just to have some solid play, some solid jukes. 3 heroes now up in this top lane, and hopefully going to be able to take a little bit of revenge as the Vici Gaming actually not going to be running their set on the Tusk. I keep talking about sets, but for some reason it keeps popping into my mind. Man, Mr. Tusk.
Well, Ice had to break up his set to get the new little Immortal. He's got the little penguin Ice Shard, but he has the rest of his set. That's the one thing that's annoying. Like, you have a set, you see this new cool item come out that's much more rare and has special effects. You're like, man, I gotta break up my set just to use this new item. But the things you do for cosmetics and hats in Dota 2, I guess.
Absolutely. Dazzle as well as the Night Stalker just going to be able to get the little side pull off, and hopefully the Igloo will get a couple of those last hits. Didn't quite get the Hellbear Smasher, unfortunately. Dazzle, I believe, picked that one up, and always the battle that ends up coming out in these little engagements is how well are you going to be able to contest the pulls. But Tusk has already gotten level 3, so it's pretty comfortable, and particularly if you compare that to where the Phoenix is at, having to move on over into the mid lane and just now picking up that level 2.
He got level 2 by leeching mid experience, and that was while getting a bounty rune. He really struggled just to get 100 experience points to get to level 2. Ice, level 3.5. So this is where Phoenix is just not a common or popular pick for the offlane. He really struggles to hold his own. He's got 0 base armor. He's got an escape spell, but he's got terrible base damage. He can't trade right clicks with the supports and just doesn't have any way of kind of pulling back the creep equilibrium. Look at what Tusk can do with the Ice Shards trick. You look at what Clockwork can do with the Cogs. And you just look at these other offlaners, be it a Spirit Breaker or a Night Stalker. They're all really tanky as well. So Phoenix just doesn't have any good tools to really go down to that offlane. It's kind of like a Queen of Pain, but with less lane dominance. Like an offlane Queen of Pain has the Blink Escape that doesn't get countered for one thing by a Silencer necessarily. And then you've also got much better lane control. Phoenix, all your spells do self-inflicted damage, which make the hero even worse for the offlane. So very much a weak hero in the laning stage, but if you can come online mid-game, very powerful.
Absolutely. And I guess also the fact is that the Silencer just counters him so hard, it does mean that you do have to be running a silencer who's a bit of a not a, I don't want to say a weak support, but a vulnerable support. If you take a look at what these other heroes are, particularly the Night Stalker, if he's able to get up the levels and he is starting to get the pulls through, he can jump on top of that silencer and really inflict a lot of damage very quickly. So there's not a ton of jump. The Ember Spirit is the other one that I'm thinking about here, who when you get those Fire Remnants out, there's not really a great escape mechanic for the silencer. So that might be some little consolation prize. But again, to sacrifice your whole off lane for maybe having a vulnerable support still doesn't seem completely worth it. But hopefully going to be able to find the farm that she needs.
Another Dire Observer on the high ground at mid. This one is, again, scattered up by this sentry. So we'll see the sentry expire, and I don't know if Vici Gaming have caught vision there. They'll see this ward in a second. Yeah, I believe the sentry saw it right before it expired. So we may see another sentry come out mid lane just to take it out, but NiceIce spending a lot of time around this mid lane to try and get some XP. XZ, let's be careful on the Phoenix. We'll take the last word, fissure block, but should be okay.
Just messing with him. Just getting up inside of his head. Like when you're already level 2 at 5 minutes in, like you already are in a bit of a flustered spot, and also just getting fissure blocked in for not really any reason other than to mess with you. It's a little bit frustrating. It's going to rotate on into the mid lane now, and 4 heroes here for the super. If they don't get this kill, this is a lot of potential farm wasted, but looks like there really isn't any chance to kill with the lineup that they've got.
And super just not even moving forward to go for last hits. He's just leeching XP from far away, knowing that a Night Stalker rotation with the Silence Void is enough to kill him. FY is now rocked up, so there is a fissure counter initiation, which may give Super a bit more confidence to at least go for some farm in this lane. With it pushing under his tower, he should be alright. But first nighttime, unlikely to see much in the way of kills for CDEC. I don't think they'll be overly concerned. Like often you kind of talk about Night Stalker needs to get a lot done during the night phase, but this early on, CDEC with an SF and an underleveled Phoenix aren't really ready to make that big push to get aggressive. I think it happens around the second night phase, like 12 to 16 minutes in. Ember's going to be really powerful. That's when CDEC need to really get a big lead.
I will say I really, really like this play now by CDEC. The Phoenix has been having a ton of trouble in lane, moves on into the jungle with the Shadow Fiend, and is around for the bonus EXP as a 4 stack gets taken, and probably another one here as well in just a second on the medium camp. So now all of a sudden your Phoenix is up to level 4. Well, it's even with the Tusk, like a complete and total turnaround. It does mean your Shadow Fiend isn't accelerating as much as he would otherwise, but a good way to turn this back around.
Queen of Pain Sonic Wave, they get the kill in mid lane. Night Stalker goes down. So the first Sonic Wave is a 2-minute plus cooldown onto a support Night Stalker. Takes him out of the picture while it's night, so that's also somewhat important to note, although it felt like CDEC were more just sending in mid to get some XP and farm. Across the board on the CDEC side, it does feel like they've got a few heroes more underleveled than they'd like, but they're starting to fix that, as yeah, the Phoenix does now catch up, as you kind of mentioned. So nice little bit of play there. SF
Bottom lane.
farming well. Aggressive actually rotating, gets silence. He's in trouble here. Gets the Remnant out for now. Chase is on though, and another Ice Shards will be available soon, but doesn't look like they'll find any kills.
He's going in there on Fenrir, wanting to make something happen, but overextended a little bit with the last word being popped, as well as the TPs in, the fissure connecting there, and just creating things a little bit awkwardly. But obviously, good escape mechanics. The Ember Spirit is going to be able to get out of there, but a full rotation also.
Yes. That's, I think, the biggest thing is that Ember wastes time. And like that first TP gank as an Ember, you're expecting to get something out of it. You do open up your safe lane, so Dazzle gets some farm, some XP, but you'd much rather Ember would have just stayed top, kept on farming, than go bottom and waste his time not getting a kill.
Also, you meant a thing to keep in mind, the Night Stalker is going to be moving on back into the offlane now, going to get last worded up, but while this is happening, you're getting double stacks up by the Phoenix. All right, Ember now turning around onto Ice. Ice is going to get a couple more right clicks. The Void does connect, but the Snowball, after the Fissure, is going to be dropped. It's still not going to be able to get out of there. Kill by the Dazzle.
Yeah. So, seems CDEC have recovered really nicely after what seemed to be a quite poor laning stage. The Ember and the SF just getting active on the map. Shiki already up to level 9 now. He's by far the top net worth hero, 1,500 net worth ahead of the Queen of Pain. Those neutral stacks just being the big difference maker here in the early game.
It's about to be another double. So this is going to be 2 triple stacks here. I think unless he thought about going for the fire spirits on it.
No. So I have a triple stack at the big camp and a double stack at the medium camp. Either way, a good amount of farm. Looks like Phoenix will just stay in the mid lane rather than Leech XP in the jungle. Trying to get that level 6.
Very comfortable with that one indeed. And I guess the thing that we haven't really talked about is while they have been able to, build back up a lead, Burning has been consistently able to farm. Does have the phase boots up now, as well as a belt of strength, and probably going to be building into a Sanjin Yasha, just getting those early components quickly so that way he's a little bit more tanky. And he hasn't really been under any pressure at all in this lane. If you take a look at the last hit, 64 right now, and while Shadow Fiend is approaching 100 very quickly by the 10-minute mark, that's actually insane. The Gyrocopter's been able to get pretty much free farm as well.
Yeah, 100 CS at 10 minutes. You see 10 CS a minute when you reach like the 20-minute mark on a hero like an Alchemist or an Anti-Mage with Battle Fury, but to do 10 CS a minute this early on in the game, that is actually some of the most impressive stuff I've seen on a Shadow Fiend. That is absurd levels of farm. Hits level 11 now as well. Level 11, 100 plus CS, 10 minutes in the game. Holy crap. This is probably in like the top 5 best SF performances like of all time. Kill at top lane, they use the call down, and with a Tusk initiation, they do bring down the Night Stalker, but if I'm CDEC, I'm thinking, it's just a Night Stalker. We got SF, who's out of control right now.
I didn't even realize, like, I was completely and totally blown away by that stat when I ended up seeing it. And Mechanism now finished off as well. He is very, very comfortable and hasn't really been able to be pressured in lane by the Quap. The Phoenix is going to try and make her presence felt. It's going to just to deal a little bit more damage to this Queen of Pain, but they do lose the top tower. So a couple of things coming together for Vici here. They're looking pretty decent.
Yeah, and Burning, while he's not on SF levels of farm, he's about as farmed as a Gyrocopter can be. He hasn't had the stacks available to him. We'll be going into what looks like the standard SMY rush as far as he's concerned. And Fenrir, bottom, doesn't feel safe, silences up the Ember, and then just goes for the TP out. I think recognizing that CDEC are going to be pushing this bottom lane. They're bringing 3-4 heroes down here. They've got the SF mech. So this is not a fight Vici Gaming are really able to take. The silence has to TP out. The Gyrocopter may have cooldown, but that gets negated by the mech largely, so this will just be a counter tower going CDEC's way. Question is if they'll defend the top tier 2, and it looks like the answer is going to be yes. Ember already TPing.
He's going to be able to pressure this one out. So for Vici, is there something that you're waiting for that you really want to be able to get online before you go for a big fight here? Is there, jump forward aggressive, not going to be able to get caught? Is there anything in particular, or are you just sort of...
Global silence is probably the biggest thing that they are missing, which is makes a big difference as far as being able to jump someone like Ember Spirit at top. They can actually kill him with a cooldown rocket barrage off of either a fissure or a snowball initiation, assuming they have global silence. If you don't have global, he's very likely to be able to just get the remnant out and escape. So I think they're going to wait for the global, not necessarily use it to teamfight, but try and kill off some core heroes like the Ember when he's alone. It's very hard for them to take 5v5 fights, especially now that it's nighttime.
Well, they're already in position. Sun is up for the Phoenix as well if you do want to use it for the first time in this team fight. They're getting ready to potentially fight against this setup. And as you mentioned, no global quite yet on Fenrir. It's getting a little bit scary, and they're just going to back on out now. Both sides not wanting to take this one quite yet. Phoenix.
Trouble. He can't do this, though. Wow, that snowball actually helped him out there. He's going to get the egg off now from in the low ground, the river. They can't even attack it. They're going to turn around with the SF, who's already popped the mech. He's going to come with Aggressive's Ember Spirit. Another certain chains in 3. This does not look good at all for Vici Gaming. Fighting without the global, not working at all to their advantage. The drums timing as well from Aggressive, just giving him this great chase and catch potential. And they lose 2. I think that snowball actually saved Phoenix.
Yeah, I think it did as well.
He canceled the dive for him. He was going to come back to the original location. The nature of this last word means you cannot cancel the dive. You loop all the way around, but the snowball cut him off halfway through the dive because the stun interrupts it. So, unfortunately for Vici Gaming, that kind of leads them to their demise. They actually had a pick off on XZ if not for that snowball.
That's kind of an interesting little thing too, because that feels once you're already all the way out there as the Tusk, like you're snowballed, you're in the river, the sun ends up popping out before you're able to get the pickoff that you thought you were able to get, and all of a sudden they get drawn into this team fight that they don't want to take a little bit. So it was good for them to be able to disengage from it after the fact, but
yeah. I think it was one of those things where Phoenix, who was silenced up, and Ice is like, oh, he's not going to use dive because he's got last word on him. So he just wanted to snowball to get in close for a Walrus punch to finish off Phoenix. But Phoenix made a sick play there. That was, looking back on it, I think that was actually an insane play from XZ to go to the dive out. Top lane will see SF get caught out. Burst down. Didn't even get a chance to use the mech, but yeah, that was, I think, possibly an amazing... I mean, it was definitely an amazing play from XZ, and not even really a bad play from Ice. Very much thought the Phoenix was just going to stand still and accept his fate that he's getting silenced, but... Because you have last word on you, you never go for a dive escape when you've got last word on you.
Yeah, definitely. Global Silence is going to be popped that time, probably saving the Queen of Pain's life. He would have potentially been able to throw out those... little spirits as well as get the sun off. I don't know if it would have been enough to kill, but it certainly would have been close with the follow-up coming in from the Night Stalker as well as right clicks. So we do end up blowing the Global Silence here. A very long cooldown on that one, and we saw what ends up happening if you try and fight into a big, scary lineup like CDEC without it. Earthshaker also struggling to be able to finish off picking up that level 6 for him. Also worth noting that the Tusk has been able to get level 8 and is going to be trying to go for that mechanism now. So all of these pieces for Vici Gaming, it feels like they just need a little bit more farm, and probably because of how effectively the Shadow Fiend's been able to farm, they're just a little bit behind in terms of those key items and the levels that are going to allow them to take these engagements here.
Yeah.
As we see the Dazzle and the Shadow Fiend move on over towards this top lane.
That was a TP top from Queen of Pain. It looks like they're possibly trying to set up to fight this one. Call down Sonic Wave. We saw what this duo can do last game. They're going to make this play. They're TPing in. Call down is there to lead things off. Super ready with a Sonic Wave. It may just be Q. They go on. Nice Fissure will prevent any Grave coming out. The egg in the middle of things, so they focus it down or back off. It looks like back off will be the call. Ball on in, will dodge the Phoenix Stun. Now the cooldown is already still on cooldown. Great! Sonic Wave screams! Super unleashes a huge amount of damage here. Unfortunately for Gyro and Tusk, they actually snowballed into their own death, so there's no follow-up here, and Super forced to back off. The mech advantage proving to be too much. Only a Dazzle kill. That was with the Dream Sonic Wave, and it's not just going to be 2. It's going to be a 3rd kill going the way of CDEC now, with Queen of Pain dying as well.
They also hit an Echo Slam on top of that. It was just everything. That mech was too strong. You saw them all get away on almost no HP there at the end, and the Earthshaker in that fight dealt out 800 damage. Like, they were all dealing a ton of damage, but the end, just that heal coming out at the exact right time, making sure they were able to re-engage at the end for the Queen of Pain kill, and now they're going to be able to take this other tower. And again, Global Silence back up now. Wish it would have been a couple of seconds earlier.
There just aren't enough. Outside of the Dazzle, everyone's sitting on around like 1k or even more than 1k HP in the case of heroes like Nightstalker and Ember. And that's where Queen of Pain dishes out 2.5k damage, but it's split between all 5 heroes. So the mech gets full effect with everyone getting healed back up. Dazzle, unfortunately dead, so they didn't even have the Shadow Wave, but even without the Dazzle, still enough heals to sustain them and get them out. Except now, being kind of caught out on his own, but I'm not sure if this is a kill that Vici Gaming want to go for. But hold on, they do. Global Silence is back up. That's what they were missing last fight. And this time around, it's going to give them an SF kill. But Walrus Punch goes out on Dazzle. He gets the defensive Grave, and Aggressive looking to do just that. He's getting aggressive and trying to go in for some kills here. 3 Hero Fissure. The Ice Shards catches out 4 as well. Fantastic disengage coming out from FY there on the Shaker.
Might be looking for a little bit more as well. There's the Remnant away. Snowball coming forward is going to end up connecting onto 3 heroes as well as the Fissure. So much damage and control coming out. Nicely done. Super is going to be able to walk away from this one. The Shards keeping him alive, and a triple kill for Super.
I can't believe how many multiple hero stuns we're seeing. The Snowball stuns 3 heroes. The Earthshaker Fissure stunned 4 heroes, then 3 heroes the next time. Every single stun from Vici Gaming is catching 3 or 4 heroes. And not just the stun, spells like Ice Shards coming out from the Tusk, catching multiple heroes as well. They are really maximizing their damage output with every single spell they cast.
5,000 or 4,500 gold swing at the end of it, as well as 4,600 EXP. Every person dead on CDEC and nobody going down for Vici at the end of that last little bit of the engagement, which it seems like it's been lasting for about 5 minutes. They just keep on sitting up near where those tier 1 towers did sit before and are going to end up getting away from it this time. So looking good again now after that global silence. It's really starting to look a little bit more into their favor.
Yeah. One fight with global and suddenly, yeah, things have heavily turned around. Gyro will have enough money to complete the Sanjin Yasha, not to mention another 850 gold on top of it, so can pick up even just something like a casual Ogre Club to go with this, to start boosting up your HP even further. So we're looking at a Vici Gaming squad who are going to be pretty strong here in the mid game. FY still has a ways to go for it before his Blink Dagger's up, but for Vici Gaming, this is going to be farm time. They want to wait until they have global again, as well as the cooldown and everything else before they try to take another fight. But those spells have actually come up pretty fast. Global Silence already back online for Vici.
Well, it's because that fight was so long. Like, they used it at the very beginning of it. And, well, not the very, very beginning, but the sort of the second half of the beginning. They were able to toss it out there. And Silencer here as well is going to be going for that Shadow Amulet. So wanting to keep himself alive when they're in good position to do so. The BKB timing versus the global silence is going to be important to keep an eye on. And now he's going to be able to run away from this one. Last word going to hit, but not really going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I believe this will be the Glimmer Cape. Yep, he picks up the other component. So Glimmer Cape completed by Fenrir, which will help a lot against some of the magic damage bursts that can come out. The SF Razor's Requiem being the big thing. If anyone ever gets caught by a Searing Chains or gets silenced by a Night Stalker, they'll quickly become a good Glimmer target to keep alive against some of the nuke damage that can follow it up.
Also having here the Orchid on the Queen of Pain and the Mechanism finished on the Tusk, they're really going to be ready to fight as soon as they end up getting all of these spells off cooldown. They are now there. Oh, Night Stalker is a little bit separated from the herd. The Queen of Pain jumps on top of him immediately, gets the silence down from the Orchid, is going to end up popping to the last word. I do believe Sun down on top of everybody. The Snowball is going to be able to keep him alive, I think. Oh, jumping away. They're taking the damage, though. Oh, they're in trouble. Fenrir taking a ton of it. Global Silence coming down might be a bit too late. Are going to get a multiple hero stun yet again with the Fissure. Queen of Pain blinking away, and now FY needs to get out of there. Echo Slam, but to what end? Oh, Super now getting bursted down. Is going to be able to blink away from it, though. Shallow Grave maybe a little bit preemptively. I think that they get the chains. Oh,
what?
I thought he was going to go for
Yeah,
that.
Sleight of Fist. Could have gone for the slight chains, I guess. Didn't feel confident in it. Maybe didn't know about the Orchid timing, but yeah, I think he actually had that kill. Interesting. Aggressive, normally very on point with his Ember play, but not that time there, not willing to go for the aggressive kill. CDEC, that Phoenix Egg was just insane. XZ is making plays happen on this Phoenix, because that fight looked really bad for CDEC. They actually had two heroes, SF and Dazzle, in the Roshan pit when the Night Stalker got caught out. Ice got a great shards off and like blocked Shiki into the Roshan pit, taking Roche damage while they were going on the Night Stalker. So it looked like a really bad fight for CDEC to be taking until Phoenix came in and hit the Egg of a Lifetime. The Snowball from Tusk kind of working against Vici Gaming, not for the first time this game as well.
They're going to end up going right on into the Aegis Seraphine. The mech does end up coming out. They're jumping forward again with XZ. It looks like they're going to at least chase them away for now. Oh, the shards break the Aegis. A 3-hero Fissure as well. Oh, God, the call down on top of the Gyrocopter is going to be able to keep them alive a little longer. Now the BKB popped by the Shadow Fiend. He's just going to go crazy.
Get back in. There's no Fire Remnants out. They've got Rocket Barrage as well that'll break through the Flame Guard, and so killing the Ember as well. Another Fissure comes in, and Shiki's blocked in. He's got no TP. FY saying, guys, come on, I've caught an SF. Do something about it. Burning's here with Rocket Barrage, and that'll be enough to bring down the Shadow Fiend. What a re-engagement. This is such a back-and-forth game. Vici Gaming team wipe, then CDEC Gaming get a 3-for-1 plus a Roshan. Then Vici Gaming get like a 1-for-4 trade. This is just one team wins a fight. It means they're going to lose the next fight, it seems.
That was really strange. So I wanted to talk about something more about that little engagement beforehand, but we ended up going into another huge team fight. One thing about the Sun there as well, you sort of felt there the nerf that came about with Tusk with the lower duration for how long before the Snowball ends up unlatching naturally.
Yeah.
Because he would have been able to get that, I think, in 6.84. Oh, that's a catch on to Dazzle. He's going to end up falling yet again. I do believe Global Silence does end up getting popped. No ability for him to TP away as that Grave does wear out. And then the other thing was, I think that the reason that the Ember didn't end up going for the kill on the Queen of Pain there at the end was the last second they were able to burst down Roshan. Vici was almost at the door to be able to contest it. Maybe if you end up committing the Ember Spirit and the other hero that was there, you're not able to get Roshan quick enough because of how short the, the respawn timers are.
Absolutely, and from their point of view, getting an Aegis is more important than a Queen of Pain kill, so I can definitely see the reasoning there for their team. I think the one thing they maybe, for Vici Gaming, where the fight went wrong was instead of going for the snowball there, they should have tried to focus down the supernova. It was a level 2 supernova, but they had 3 heroes next to it, so all 3 heroes could have just tried to attack it down. Unfortunately, the gyro with the BKB is the one hero they really need for that. Top lane, there's going to be a TP coming in aggressive with Boots of Travel, rotates up top. Supernova this time cannot be dealt with, I feel. Super right-clicks it once and then quickly realizes, oh wait, I'm on my own. Back off.
I thought about the re-engage with the shards committed as well as the fissure, but they're going to be able to walk away from that one.
These fissures have just been insane from FY. I'm just losing count of how many like that last fight in the jungle, he hit another, I think 4 hero fissure. I'm not sure if he hit the SF before the Aegis proc, but even with the SF Aegis proc, he hit the other 3 heroes who are still alive. Like that was just insane damage output, and also splitting up the fight. There's like 1 or 2 heroes on one side, a hero on the other side, and leads the fight for the, like, opens up the fight for Queen of Pain just to go blinking in aggressively and get a ton of damage dealt and clean up some of those squishy supports.
You know what it is, I think? It's the Golden Immortal Totem. Definitely going to be...
It's all in the cosmetics. The gravel win,
definitely.
I like the dragon one, the one from the Chinese New Year event. The Spring Festival.
Definitely.
That's my preferred totem. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got like a Chinese dragon on it or something.
It's pretty sweet, definitely. The golden ones are always really cool.
Oh yeah.
He does have his Blink Dagger up now as well, so he's going to really start to be able to tear people apart. And that instant initiation that you talked about during the draft, being able to jump on top of that Ember Spirit and follow it up after the fact with potentially a Global Silence. I think that now if you're an Ember Spirit, you really need to be careful about where you're farming.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Hasn't got any escape from a Global Silence until he completes the Manta, which seems to be some ways away. So... And it's not just the Global Silence, so yeah, the Blink Dagger and the Shaker as just as big a threat. Also, it means if you're a BKB hero like Shiki, you can't rely on that BKB when you're against a Blink Shaker, when you can get that instant jump on you. They put down a ward behind the tower. All they need is some vision here. Defensive Weave is used. CDEC are expecting this, it seems. Gearing up for what could be a big fight around this Tier 1 tower. He chose himself, but Vici Gaming have got to know more heroes sitting right behind him.
And you take a look at the positioning right now for everybody, just fully ready for the fight, ready to jump forward with the Earthshaker, Queen of Pain on the other side, so that way she can blink in and get a good initiation with the Sonic Wave. Dazzle way back in the trees is actually a little bit separated at this point. If he moves out right now, he needs to be careful because the Observer Ward from the Radiant's going to be able to spot him going up, and he does back out to the bottom. So, all right, just posturing for each side, and they're going to be content for a Tier 1 tower. After a smoke used, I'm not really sure who ends up winning off of that one because you lose a smoke, but you also are able to get a tower.
I mean, it just felt like such a zero trade. Like it was like a zero net sum between the two teams. No one really gained anything. I mean, a smoke use, it did lead into Vici Gaming getting a nice ward down as well. So from that point of view, I think Vici Gaming, looking at their vision now in the enemy jungle as well as around the mid lane, they've got some really good wards up. So I think they're not going to... It's not the result they were hoping for, but it's still decent enough for them. So CDEC at the same time, avoid it, don't get killed at all. I don't really feel like anyone walks away from that thinking, oh, great for us.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody just a little bit upset. And again, this harkens back to, oh god, FY is going to end up going for this one. Echo Slam down, as well as the Enchant Totem. Fissure laid down, and one more right click is going to be enough. Gyrocopter gets it with the Rocket Barrage.
And they even held the global there. It looked like they might just be a tiny bit short of having enough damage. I was almost thinking like, pop the global, but they, like the last little bit of cooldown damage, I think the second cooldown hit secured the kill there. Well executed kill at that. That's what the Ember. That's why the Ember's game is going to be very difficult now.
Dyer's top
Yeah,
tower
certainly.
is under
Every
attack.
little bit matters as well. Being able to save that global, like when you're fighting in not necessarily, it's not an elimination match, obviously, but for these teams, it definitely feels like they want to win this one. And every single game you're going to want to win when you're a competitor at this level. But particularly when it's the chance to be able to move on relatively soon into the final big tournament at the end of the year in LA, it's certainly really coming down to this one and how well they're going to be able to execute in this game here.
Vici Gaming happy just to back off for now. They've now got the 2 top farmers in the game, and they pulled away by about 3,000 net worth. Both Game 2 and Game 3 have been neck and neck, and again, we see about 30 minutes in the game, the biggest gold lead has been around 3,000 net worth. It was a bit more than that for CDEC at one stage of the game, but we're not seeing either team snowball out of control, which has definitely been, I mean, in general with Dota, it's the trend. Whichever team gets like a small early game advantage, you're able to turn a small lead into a slightly bigger lead, and then it just gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. Bottom lane, they've got aggressive again, this time with the silencer. They didn't have an Echo Slam. They're trying to bring him down. They haven't quite got the damage they need. Aggressive, using the tree line to block some of that rocket barrage damage. I'm not sure if that was the difference maker, but it really felt like he played that one well. You can't hit the rocket barrage when they go into fog against you.
They were able to get that first fissure down, followed up with the enchant, but the second one just didn't come around quite quick enough, unfortunately. And we're trying to make up that extra little bit of difference in terms of stun duration with the silence, and not quite there in time, unfortunately. It does look like Earthshaker is going to be building on towards that Force Staff next, potentially. It seems like it would make the most sense, and I'm sure he's able to find the initiation and goal.
Yeah, Force Staff, just more mobility, more kind of ways to maneuver around a fight, hit that totem, whatever it may be. Like, you blink in, use all your spells, and then you've got another totem. You're like, I've got no blink, but you can Force Staff around, save teammates. So a lot of things you can do with this. CDEC all go in the Roshan pit. It was actually going to be respawning fairly soon, something Vici Gaming have got to be wary of. But now they smoke into the enemy jungle, heading right towards Vici Gaming, burning on the receiving end. BKB cooldown, though. He turns to fight this one. They're going to ignore him for now, go for the backlines. FY and Fenrir have to be careful. That's an aggressive Ember. They're not ready to fight, but it's burning. Fighting underneath the Supernova. He's going to have to find himself get stunned up fairly soon. Super on the Queen of Pain. Used the Sonic Wave. Didn't get any kills apart from the Dazzle so far. Cheeky with BKB wearing off. Goes down. Doesn't really seem to matter for CDEC, who is still charging forward. XC on the Phoenix. Again, making plays happen. That Supernova just catching out absolutely everyone. And Vici Gaming somehow keep the Earthshaker alive with a TP escape, but it's CDEC who come out on top.
He actually went back in for the Blink Echo, and then he got Crippling Feared at the last second. That was a really close play, because if he gets that, he has his full combo up, ready to go. If he ends up hitting that one, I feel like he gets a triple kill. So really quick fingers there by the
triple kill, but he would have gotten at least one, probably a second as well. But I don't know if he was going to be able to 1v3 there, but very much it would have been a worthwhile trade to throw away your life to get a couple of kills, including kills on core heroes like Phoenix and well, I guess Nightstalker not really a core, but Nightstalker with a gem and a lot of farm now.
Yeah. He's getting close to that Aghanim, so only needs about 1,000 more gold to finish it off, and being able to take this Roshan is certainly going to do it. And this is, it's just sort of the classic, very calculated and prepared play here by CDEC. They're moving on in, they're able to take the team fight after they won't move on into the Roche pit for the smoke, make sure that they're able to take this next Roshan, and probably going to be pushing up for tier 2 towers at this next engagement that they end up taking. So all in all, very, very solid play.
I think we're partially seeing how Vici Gaming are a little bit weak right now, even with the BKBs. They've got this double BKB on Quap as well as Gyro, but they haven't got that secondary item on top of it. Feels like Queen of Pain really needs the Shivers Guard. Gyro has the Dominator, but is really going to need, I'd say, a Butterfly just for the extra attack speed. Not once this game have they brought down the Supernova. This has just been their undoing in every single fight. XC's Phoenix, hands down my MVP so far, as far as CDEC are concerned. I think without him, they'd have just be getting crushed this game. And that's where, I mean, you look at either team, Vici Gaming, I think, have been much more well-rounded and solid, but XZ has been a huge playmaker this game.
Well, and considering how bad his laning stage went, it's really impressive. Also, he's only died once. He's gone 1, 1, and 11. That's perfectly fine for your offlane hero, who's now level 17 with a level 3 ulti. Like, he is, I am really, really impressed. I think Generally, part of it as well, though, is the fact that the whole team CDEC sort of rallied around him by being able to get those stacks on up in the jungle, and then after the fact, bring him up there to make sure he got the farm that he needed, because they knew that this was the extra little oomph that they were going to need to take these team fights in the mid game. So really, really good game management in terms of prioritizing the farm that they need for the off lane.
Vici Gaming, I think after that fight and the fact that now the age is in the hands of the Shadow Fiend, will be going back to that kind of farming state. Burning, farming out the Ancients, talks about how it does feel like both he and Super need that one extra item before they're ready to fight, and the question is trying to get to that item without giving up too much. If CDEC suddenly have an Ag Scepter on Night Stalker, which they definitely will, along with other big scary late game items, then you've got problems. Shadow Fiend himself has picked up an SMY though, so it's not like he's going for the pure late game build here. Is just stopping off at an item which can help them take towers, and presumably CDEC will be looking for these tier 2 towers during the Aegis duration, although for now they're not really showing it. I think it's because they want the vision advantage. They haven't got an Ag Scepter yet on Night Stalker. Having a Night Stalker with Ags and Aegis, that's time where you just smoke and go for a big play.
Oh, bottom lane, they're going to be able to find the Ember Spirit yet again. Everything thrown out. That's huge.
Oh, man, that's... I really feel like CDEC were just about to go for a smoke pickoff. Garda's headed back to base. I think he's just going to sell an item to get his Ag Scepter plus TP. Yeah, he sells his one, buys the Ags, picks up a TP. And this was going to be time to smoke. You just got your Ags on Night Stalker. You have an Aegis. You want to smoke and go for a fight. And Ember being dead for the next 60 seconds, that pickoff matters a massive amount. That changes a lot right now. And Vici Gaming are actually going on the aggressive despite CDEC having an Aegis.
Yeah, this could be a little bit dangerous. Ember also doesn't have a buyback. They don't know this, of course, but they are going to at least have some idea of it considering he's not buying back right now. Still going to be a 5-on-5 considering the Aegis is back up. But if this fight lasts longer than 2 minutes, it's going to end up being reclaimed beforehand. Vision advantage is going to be in the way of CDEC now, having that unobstructed at the nighttime.
Yeah.
Question is, do they want to take this team fight? And it seems like it might be a little bit scary to actually go into it. We do have the crit up on Shadow Fiend as well, so investing in these little items just to give them whatever advantage they possibly can.
And that's where they wanted to get whatever items they could get to make this smoke gank as powerful as possible. So to go back to the Ember game picked off, this really hurts the overall CDEC strategy. It's going to instantly TP mid, and they smoke. What's that underneath the ward? I don't know. This Radiant ward, it's during darkness, did not see anything at all. So immediately CDEC making a move. Will find Super here. He's got a BKB, pops it, can blink out. So smoke gank avoided as a courier does get aggressive. Whoopsie daisy. That was actually a pretty big courier. Is that the, what, butterfly or something on there? AC.
So.
Super, actually going for an AC, not a Shivers. His completed AC was on there. Oh boy. That means we're playing 3 minutes without an AC on the side of Vici Gaming.
That's really huge. So they trade essentially a tier 2 tower for a tier 2 tower. The other 2 towers still standing for Vici and only 1 up for CDEC. So going to see the split push game come out a little bit as the Earthshaker moves his way and just sort of bounds off towards the bottom lane to see if he can do this. But he does need to be careful and make sure he comes on back with this full combo, because I guess the Aegis is going to expire before they're going to be able to go high ground. Yeah, I think CDEC bounced now.
I think they know there's just no high ground push coming. Earthshaker's going to be careful because, yeah, boot to travel means... Oh, no, he's actually going to go for this kill. Not again. Not like this.
Not
aggressive.
like this.
Oh, put one in the jar. Blink, Echo Slam, Sonic Wave Scream. They've taken him out once more. You've got to learn your lesson. This is, what, the 3rd time now he's been picked off by himself in that exact same fashion. Once at the top lane, once at the bottom lane. There was one which he actually survived. So there's been about 4 plays at the same move. 3 of the 4 times he's died. I would say, like, if it's 2 of the 4, like, okay, that's excusable. But 3 out of the 4, it's... That's just becoming too much. Very much a very smart play from FY. FY was just anticipating that TP because he was already in position to make that jump, like as well as the Queen of Pain. Both players were very close to where he TP'd into, and FY's the Ember aggressors probably thinking it's like, oh, there's a T2 tower bottom. If they see me TP bot, they can only react by going to the tower. But they anticipated the move, predicted where he would go, and were ready to jump him. But still, I feel like Ember, you've just not got to, you've got to stop giving up these kills.
It is. I agree with you again though about how really impressive that was. The anticipation there. It sort of reminds me of a chess play to a certain extent. You expect what the opponent's going to do, and then you play your next move based upon that. And
Yeah.
really cool to be able to see that type of play in a game that's as fast paced as Dota, because it's not often that you get enough time to really think about what the next move is going to be. You're almost always constantly reacting, and you get a general idea of when your power curve is going to be very strong or whatever. But to be able to find that type of sort of presence of mind to really make that play, really heads up there by Vici. And I think that, if they keep on finding those pickoffs on Ember, he had just gotten to the lane. He got one sleight of fist out. It's a 6-second cooldown. Like,
well, and he
they're on
found
him
the one
immediately.
creep wave, and I was like, okay, he finished that creep wave. He's actually going to be okay, but then he pushed forward and went for a second creep wave. That was where he got too greedy. If he'd just taken the one creep wave, then backed off, but he showed himself on the map, cleared a creep wave, and then continues to push. So it wasn't like he cleared one creep wave in 3 to 5 seconds and backed off. He was visible and in the lane for about 10 to 15 seconds, but still, more than anything, it was just a really solid pickoff from Vici Gaming, who now find themselves able to withstand the Aegis duration. We're back to 0 net worth difference between the two teams. Nothing on experience. This game practically dead even. I don't even feel like either team has a big advantage going into the late game. Some of these heroes like Phoenix, not really known for scaling all that great. Night Stalker, the vision he provides, always great in the late game, but the hero itself is not going to offer a whole lot the longer this game goes. So I do feel like CDEC maybe have a few more heroes that fall off later on, but the vision advantage makes up for maybe having a slightly weaker late game lineup.
Yeah, certainly. I think that, like you mentioned, there's not a ton that you get out of it, but when you have plays like this where you have a smoke coming on in, this could actually sort of negate that vision advantage. You're feeling comfortable.
Oh, it's daytime now. They timed this for the daybreak. Link Echo, FY catches out Q and Garda. They're going to blow up the 2 supports instantly. Global Silence helping ensure that one. Shiki, BKB TP. Good response from him, and XZ also TP's out. So CDEC cut their losses, and that was about as good as you could hope for CDEC, considering the good jump that Vici Gaming got.
That's 3,000 gold on top of this Earthshaker as well now on top of this. Like, they're really going to start to be able to get the items that they need. And Glimmer Cape, Force Staff up on the Silencer. Across the board, I mean, the Roshan obviously is not going to respond for a really long time. It's a relatively long timer, but it does feel like they're at least going to be able to take this tier 2 tower and potentially just continue to build up a little bit more of that gold lead. They haven't really, as you said, it's back down to even, but I feel like once these towers start getting taken down here, or at least this last tier 2, they're going to be at least a little bit ahead.
Make a play here. They are grouping up, have Night Stalker back in 5. Yeah, they're going to not make a play, but they will defend the tier 2 tower. And for Vici Gaming, they've got to push out the top lane, even maybe apply some pressure in mid and bottom, and then they've got to come back. They're wary of Roshan. Neither team knowing when Rosh is coming back. It could have respawned already for what the two teams know. Good news for Vici Gaming is they can camp a creep in there. One of the great late game benefits of having a Helm of the Dominator is that you've got this just constant scouting creep that can just sit in Roshan and let you know should CDEC go for Rosh or should Roshan respawn.
Absolutely, and making sure that they're going to have eyes on it. Is what you want to do. Oh, and there it goes.
Blueberry rune is picked up. He's got a bottle DD rune. Got past the bottle from Super. This is actually one of those like late game options, which if you have a DD flak in a team fight, that is just such a big difference to your everyday normal flak. His base damage 166 means he's going to get a lot out of this rune. Backs off. There goes the Supernova. They may focus this one down with the BKB. Yep, Bonix going to do just that, and he's flacking while doing this. The DD rune just tears apart CDEC. They've lost both support. SF as well. Phoenix buys back 4 for nothing with a buyback. Double damage all day long, not to mention XZ's first egg, which seemed slightly out of position. Vici Gaming were just in a good position to focus it down. The 2 BKB cores can just BKB off the Fire Spirit and then attack the egg while BKB, not to mention they've got plenty of attack speed, Butterfly and AC. That egg did not stand a chance.
This might end up being game defining right here. You end up losing all of those heroes so quickly off the back of it. Buyback status, none up on the Shadow Fiend, the big person that's going to be in charge there. And the Night Stalker does have it, but again, what's he going to be able to do? Catches on top of the Phoenix. He's going to fall. That's a dieback. 90 seconds, and now this is going to be a lane of barracks and potentially the game as well. All of the other tier 2s, at least up in the top lane, are taken down, so going to lose the other set of barracks there. Moving up for the tier 3. Oh, and CDEC can only look back on alarm.
Well, Ember's just going to, at most, I'd say, take a tier 3 tower up top, just split pushing, knowing there's nothing he can do to defend. If he tries to defend, he's most likely getting caught out by the Earthshaker, and, well, we'll see them back off. FY will defend the top lane, doesn't even get the tier 3 tower just yet in the end, although Siege Creep may change that, but it is Vici Gaming with a 4 racks advantage, poised to take the Game 3 decider here. And all it took was a few clutch plays and a clutch bottled up double damage rune.
It's crazy how much that can just totally change the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Now that being said, we do have another potential. They're going for Roshan. They do end up tossing out the Igloo as well to keep them back off of this, but they're going to be able to get Rosh.
Yeah, it's daytime. Ice Shards is there to scout. Rosh is already down and Burning picks it up. And see a snowball now. It looks like Ice may wants to re-engage. Burning now folds it up. The silence is there. Garda does get off the nighttime, but oh, the nighttime actually breaks open as Blink forward from Super. He's got Cheese and a BKB still. Sonic Wave potentially could come out. Q, Brave, and well, he'll have to accept his fate. Hey, Lyrical, this is feeling like the end for CDEC.
Well, not quite the end. It is still the upper bracket, but definitely the end of this game is looking what it's going to be like. It's been a good couple of games. In the end, it really came down to a bit of luck, some solid play as well. Being able to consistently find that Ember Spirit, I felt like was a very important point. The Phoenix was making really great plays in terms of being able to find him, but overall, I think the Earthshaker really making his presence felt with FY there and showing that this hero still can have some relevancy.
And this was all despite the SF's amazing start. We'll see one last fight break out. Super goes blinking in, still has the cheese to keep him alive. They take out SF, Ember, SF with buyback, but it's not going to matter. The throne's exposed, and Vici Gaming forced the GG. And SF this game had 100 CS at 10 minutes and was level 11. This was one of the best SF starts you've ever seen in competitive Dota, and it still didn't matter. Not to mention one of the best Phoenix performances I've ever seen. Yes, Aggressive didn't play his best game, but most times you have that kind of a start in SF, those kind of plays coming out of a Phoenix, and even if your safe lane Ember just has an average but not amazing game, you still win because of how well everything else is panned out. But when you're versing Vici Gaming, that's the scary thing here. It feels like everything has to go right and everything has to be perfect for you to beat this Vici Gaming team right now.
I am in awe of how well they were able to play this game and coming out with the really unique drafts, doing this also without really playing in any real games so far this patch at all, before we ended up seeing this past 4 that we've seen in the last couple of days. It's really impressive, the sort of level of skill that we've seen out of them, the crispness, the anticipatory plays, being able to jump forward knowing the Ember Spirit's going to overstay his welcome, and all in all, just really impressed with this Vici Gaming squad.
Oh, absolutely. They are now in the winner bracket finals, and it's not really a traditional double elimination because there is no grand finals. They will be versing either Newbie or eHome, that match coming up next, in a match that will determine the first Chinese team to be coming to the Summit 4. So either Vici, Newbie, or eHome will be ensured a spot, and the loser of that winner bracket final drops down to the lower bracket, where they go right into the lower bracket final, and that is a second match to determine the second Chinese team to attend the LAN final. So Vici Gaming looking red hot. The other team, though, who's playing incredibly well lately has been Newbie. They stormed their way through the Frankfurt Majors qualifiers. They come into this series against eHome, I would say, as favorites. So we'll be seeing them coming up next. Lyrical, I want to say thanks for joining me. I hope you can get some rest now. Sorry to keep you up, but it's been a lot of fun as always.
Oh, absolutely. It's a ton of fun, and looking forward to seeing where they end up going as we move on into this next stage of exciting Dota. A ton of big tournaments coming up, and loving to be a part of it.
Great. Well, you guys can follow Lyrical on Twitter at LyricalDota. You can follow myself at BTS Gods, but don't go anywhere. We'll wake up LD, bring him in. We've got eHome versus Newbie coming up. Don't go anywhere.